This man has bet everything. As long as he identifies this S-rank mission equipment, he can obtain the expensive item, the Sun Sword. But looking at the identification fee of 3,000, he falls into hesitation once again. In order to play this game, he has cut ties with all his relatives and friends. He even borrowed quite a bit through online lending. With only an associate degree, he had no choice but to work on construction sites to pay off his loans. Relatives and friends all left him. Even his family treated him like air. And all of this was for a VR game called Desire. It has 2 billion players. In this game, there's nothing you can't imagine. There's nothing you can't do. If I spend the last 3,000 yuan of living expenses, next month's loan will be overdue. But what does next month's self have to do with this month's self? Ferrari I purchased successful. Dazzling light shines throughout the room. I'm determined to succeed. Congratulations, you have received the legendary book of Pagma. Just open it, and you will be able to class change into a descendant of Pagma. You will obtain a legendary class. A man named Grid stood there in shock. He could hardly believe what was happening before his eyes. A legendary class change book. In the entire server. This might also be one of a kind. It's a pity that it's just a quest item for an S-rank mission. If I don't complete the quest, wouldn't all my hard work over the months be in vain? To hell with this damn quest. How can a solar sword compare to a legendary class transfer book? Thinking back to the miserable life after graduation, Grid immediately chose to quit. As long as I sell the job change book worth millions, I can live a carefree and dreamlike life. This pop-up notification left him completely stunned. You cannot exit the game. The S-class mission has changed to SS class. You will face the wrath of Count Ishur. To reclaim the item, Count Ishur has already become your enemy. Grid shouted in anger. To purchase equipment. To complete this mission, I have sacrificed 3 months of my youth and tens of thousands of dollars. What right do you have to try to rob me of my mission items? But there was no chance for Grid to argue back. The NPC had already come up behind him. The longsword slashed down violently. Level 73 Grid nimbly dodged the attack. The Guardian's shield activated. The moment the shield appeared, it was shattered into pieces by a single strike from Gada. With a loud bang, Grid was sent flying backwards. His health also dropped below half. How the hell do I fight this? The minions are just this strong. I can't possibly escape in front of a level 300 Ashur. This game is trash. The management is garbage. They all deserve to die. The millions in cash I had are gone. Grid's mindset has completely exploded. No, looking at the legendary job change book in my pocket. If I die, the quest item will disappear, right? Since I can't exit the game before finishing the quest, why not take a gamble? The legendary job change book opens instantly. Grid stakes his 20-year lifespan. He decisively activates the job change item. Your abilities and skills have been initialized. Congratulations, you have become a descendant of Tagma. You have acquired the new skill, Master Blacksmithing. You have mastered the technique of the Master Blacksmith. You have acquired the new skill, Master Blacksmith's Appraisal. Feeling the continuous surge of energy within, Grid silently vowed. The moment I successfully changed my class. It's just the crash of this group of NPCs. Congratulations, you have earned the title. Legendary character. Your level has dropped to level 1. Thus, the legendary player Grid faced his first death in life, with only 4 pieces of ancient tea and a novice sword left. I have welcomed my first death in life. I am a waste. I spent 3 months and $10,000. In the end, there's only a bitter 4-corner tea and a novice short sword left. Not only was I killed by a bunch of useless NPCs in the game, but in reality, I also had to suffer a hit from my mom. Grid almost deleted his account out of frustration. After spending 36 minutes on psychological preparation, he used the game pod he bought for 367 just to log in again. Entering the game, the naked Grid is still the same Grid, but the surrounding environment makes him tense up again. If I remember correctly, this is indeed a level 150 dungeon. The area dog operations leave him no way out at all. Now, not only has his level dropped to -1, even carrying a 4-corner bitter tea has exceeded his weight limit. Not only will the movement speed decrease, but using skills will also be restricted. But looking at the special description of the class, this character can ignore equipment requirements and wear equipment of all levels. Greg has now put on a set of 60-level obsolete equipment. Don't ask where the previous 70-level equipment went. Talking too much only brings tears. Although the attack and defense have significantly decreased, the attributes of level 60 equipment, even if halved, are still incomparable to level 1 equipment. Legendary grade is still legendary grade. I'm going to get rich. Excited, Grid didn't stay happy for long. Even with level 60 equipment, the level 150 dungeon is not something he can handle at his age. At that moment, the story inside the castle had already begun. The cultists of Yadin had kidnapped the Count's daughter, and were about to carry out some indescribable yet understandable actions. Luther was getting into it, when he suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. Hello, adventurer. I am the secret bodyguard of the Count. The name is lost. At this moment, the mission prompt popped up. S-rank mission. Rescue the Count's daughter. Please rescue Aaron within an hour. Reward 3,000 gold coins. There is a chance to become the Count's son-in-law. Failure will drop 2 levels. That cat is on an S-level mission. That lost cat named Melu isn't a player, right? What bad luck. Anyone who can come here is not ordinary. Since you are not in a state of fear, please assist me in rescuing the lady. Upon hearing this, Dorita realized that legendary professions might have other special effects. Stability cannot allocate attributes, but it will reduce the probability of triggering abnormal states. Indomitable cannot allocate attributes. There is a chance to nullify some damage. Undying cannot allocate attributes. When health is reduced to a minimum, there will be 5 seconds of invincibility. Such a long description. It completely stunned Grid. Even so, he doesn't intend to get involved in an S-level mission. He is already a -1 level player. If he fails again, he'll be at -3 level. But in the midst of pushing against the NPC, the joyful boulder was kicked off the cliff by Grid. It just happened to crush a little guy. You have accepted an S-level mission. Look at the system panel. Grid's mind was racing with 999 chaotic thoughts. Don't ask why one is missing. Because that one is at the game operator's place. It really didn't give Grid a chance to escape. The plot officially begins. Throwing a level 1 player into a level 150 dungeon area. Is this something a normal person can do? Facing the onslaught of small monsters in the dungeon, Grid, with only 34 health points, chose to crouch on the ground like a designated dog. Unexpectedly, the NPCs shone brightly at this moment. In such a small space, they could still maneuver skillfully. They accurately dodged the incoming attacks, then quickly pulled out a dart and stabbed it hard into Gaga's forehead. This scene left Grid completely stunned. Who says you have to rely on yourself to complete missions? Damn it, following the AI can still lead to success. Right at that moment, enemies appeared from behind too. Now we're doomed. Caught between a rock and a hard place. What can I, a level 1 waste, possibly do? Seeing this, Midu decisively pushed Grid off the cliff. With only 34 health points, he screamed in terror. Is this how my legendary class meets its second death? That's just so frustrating. But just at the moment of touching the ground, Midu swiftly used levitation to conserve energy. There's still a tough battle ahead. Rescuing the lady is just now officially starting. As the cultists chanted spells, dark energy began to gather. The villain is about to unleash a big move. The NPC, known for their sense of martial ethics, takes the lead. They interrupt the little one's spellcasting with a dart. Watching the reckless clown, Grid almost laughs himself into splits. This is an S-level quest. I might be the first player to clear it using just my mouth. Come on, Mito. If we win, I'll give you a like. Just then, an anomaly struck. The heretics united to cast dark magic. Midu couldn't avoid it in time. He was caught off guard. Seeing his support collapse, Grid almost quit the game on the spot. Amidst the strange laughter of the heathens, Midu suddenly erupted with immense power. In an instant, he broke free from the bindings of dark magic. My mission is to complete the task. No one can harm the Stalin family. The sound of crackling echoed from Midu's hand. With a wave of his arm, countless darts shot out. It rushed straight towards the winged believers. As the large leaf was about to form, a transparent silver shield suddenly appeared, blocking all the darts in front of her. Sorry. My task is to protect the offering. The sound of high heels echoed in the room. As a woman holding a staff appeared before everyone. I am the Blood Witch, Yura. Let me be your opponent. Ranked 5th in the league, the Dark Mage is ranked 1st in profession. Yura has become a prominent figure in the game with her stunning appearance and formidable strength. Yet, at this moment, she stands opposite Grid. Grid is completely bewildered now. A person shouldn't be this unfortunate, at the very least. Looking at the only kid that resembles a player, Eula couldn't help but say, "Are you even capable, little mutt?" But facing Eula, who was level 230, even Mito felt a bit pressured. A powerful energy gathered in Eula's hands, and Mito's legs were suddenly bound in place. But how could an NPC with 3 twists be that weak? The left foot stomped fiercely. The sharp dart, while breaking the bindings, carried with it the dark energy vegetation. Eula casually waved her annihilation staff. Eula cleverly countered Mito's attack. It seems the recent battle has consumed quite a bit of your stamina. So don't struggle anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, a massive blood sphere was already rushing towards us. Since you refused to admit defeat, then offer up your magic. Seeing Mito fall into a deep sleep, Yura immediately started charging power. She planned to finish this battle with one final move. But in the next second, Mito, who was supposed to sleep for 3 minutes, suddenly acted on his own. Don't be so full of yourself, young dark wizard. Now not only is Eula shocked, but even Grid looked over curiously. The ring I'm wearing can resist curses, and it also has passive healing properties. Ignoring Grid's greedy gaze, Mito re-entered combat mode. Warrior, my lord. The ring's effect has a limited number of uses. We need to finish this quickly. 3 throwing darts are launched. Once again, they are blocked by Eula's shield. But Eula's mood suddenly sank. It's so hard to deal with just one NPC. The warrior player next to her hasn't made a move yet. At this moment, death. The dead little Gagas are revived once again. Seeing the time is right, Eula starts to gather her ultimate move again. With all magic poured in, a dark storm blasts toward Midu like a tornado. As the attack gets closer and closer, Midu also falls into a panic. In a moment of desperation, a large face. The next second, a massive explosion echoed throughout the venue. Having used the ultimate skill, Yura was also left exhausted. This battle should be over now, right? But as the smoke cleared, a completely unharmed Grid appeared before everyone. Pressing against his head, only 1 drop of blood remains. Grid understands clearly. This triggered the undying passive. Great. I'm not that useless after all. But to Yura, this scene was utterly shocking. To be able to face a level 230 ultimate attack head-on. Who on earth is this man? And why can he still smile? If he's a top player, why don't I know him? Yura can't keep marveling. Midu used Grid as a springboard, and rushed up quickly. No one can hurt the lady. Die for me. The diamond barrier unleashes a massive shockwave. It once again defuses Midu's close-range attack. But Yura's stamina is already running low. An S-rank mission is indeed extremely difficult. Even at level 230, there's a chance of failure. Just as he looked desperately towards Grid's direction, he realized that the warrior player had logged off at some point, showing his strength but giving up on the mission. To hand over an S-rank mission and get scolded, Eula couldn't help but show a look of shock. Who is this man, hiding his talents and reputation? What kind of divine being is he? Little did she know, at this moment, Grid was listening to the system with a haggard face. Your character has died again. Level decreased by 2 levels. Because you died twice within 24 hours. Will be subject to the death penalty. unable to log into the game for 12 hours. However, Grid's death was caused by a little damage dealt unintentionally by teammates. It brought hope but also despair. Grid decisively removed Midu from the family tree. But something unexpected happened. Previously, when he withstood Eula's ultimate, a little nobody actually saw it. Am I going to go viral now? When did I ever have this kind of dumb luck? Grid immediately called the news agency. I am that mysterious player from the Asia-Pacific temple. After verifying Grid's information, they flat out refused to report it. What a freaking joke. Where can I find level -3 in this game? I suggest you download the game first. After watching the ending of the S-level mission, the television station invited the recently rising 203 level warrior, Katz. He climbed 30 ranks in just 3 months. He has become a powerful player ranked 53 overall. The reason he was able to achieve all this is because he changed to the epic class, Bloody Warrior. This class has an extremely overpowered passive ability. It can increase maximum health as the number of attacks increases. Once the passive ability is fully stacked, the attack speed will instantly soar. This is the foundation of Kaz's arrogance. Upon hearing this, Grid regained his focus. An epic class is this powerful. Isn't my legendary status enough to walk through like a boss? Last time, I definitely opened it the wrong way. The next day, back in the game, Grid respawned in Balan Village. Most of the players here are above level 100. And a level 3 Grid is simply unwanted. He doesn't even have enough money to move to the next city. The legendary player is now in a very awkward position. Low level, unwanted. No one wants it, can't upgrade, can't upgrade. No one wants it, but after a brief mental adjustment, Grid finally remembered the passive skill of the strongest blacksmith. In the current game environment, even the strongest blacksmith can only reach the ultimate level. But Grid jumped 4 levels directly, reaching the peak of blacksmithing. What's even more ridiculous is this guy's blacksmithing skills. For every level you advance, you can design 3 new pieces of equipment. And the initial 3 slots have not been used. The opportunity is right in front of me. What a load of crap, an epic profession. I want to create equipment that is 10,000 times stronger. Which type of material would you like to choose? According to Grid's understanding, he chose to eavesdrop on the blueprints. Aori had just asked you to draw the design and input the features of the weapon. Looking at the blank canvas, Grid began to create. Before long, a doodle with shark teeth appeared on the canvas. The system began to automatically refine it. The performance and attributes of the equipment will be optimized based on your materials and design drawings. In the next moment, the sound of electricity entered Greedle's ears. In his excited gaze, a serrated short sword, completely unrelated to graffiti, appeared before him. Attack power plus 1820. Agility 50. It also has a passive ability for 5 consecutive hits and severing. But upon seeing the equipment's wearing conditions, Grid's smile instantly disappeared. Strength over 5000. Even the top-ranked player right now can't equip this weapon. Damn it, I made a piece of crap that can't even be sold. How strong can a weapon crafted by a legendary class be? Just one hit could take out thousands of little monsters. Even the top guild in the entire server. He has to crawl at his feet. Of course, that's all talk for later. The legendary blacksmith is still frustrated now. Why can't the equipment he creates even trade for a hamburger meal? But this thing can be worn by himself. If he could get into a team, he might have the chance to get rich overnight. No, I can't. Refusing to join our team. At least be level 190 or above. Look at your gear. You're only level 60, right? Just then, the man known as the Undefeated walked over. He's the #1 in the dancer class rankings. It's alright. Leave the bus to us. He just needs to clear the minor monsters. But you need to go through a one-on-one test. As long as you prove your operational talent, you can join us in the dungeon. Looking at the man's gentle expression, Grid almost blurted out a curse. He's just a level 3 little newbie. How can I compete against the big shots on the leaderboard? And once I make a move, I'll immediately give myself away. To avoid getting caught, Grid quickly took off. He vanished in front of everyone. Suddenly, a system notification popped up. Please enter the equipment name. This money-losing item actually wants to have its own name. Grid was contemplating the next development path. While he typed in the words, failed product. Little did he know that this short item named failed product would lead to a future of chaos and bloodshed. Smith's blacksmith shop. Grid clung to the blacksmith shop like a plaster. Just give me a chance, master. I will create equipment that will satisfy you. But the blacksmith doesn't want to bother with this brat at all. This profession is not something just anyone can do. With your level of determination, I advise you to give up sooner rather than later. Seeing the other person refuse, he decisively isolated himself and silently leaned against the wall, crying. This is just too damn bullying. Legendary class completion isn't as good as retraining behind you. Just then, the blacksmith suddenly opened the door. I'm not really a devil. Seeing you so pitiful, I'll give you a chance to chop wood. Level 1 task, chop wood. Chop 500 pieces of firewood to earn 20 stamina and 10 experience points. Grid was excited. He caught the wood. He almost hit the blacksmith on the spot. It's been a while since he did a low-level task. Grid rubbed his hands together. If he remembered correctly, splitting wood has a chance of failing. He really didn't know whether to praise the game for its realism. He should really blame the planner for being trash. As the identification skill activates, the information about the old axe appears before Grid. It only took one identification to reach 100% understanding. Damn, I'm really a genius. He looked back at the wood. At this moment, there was already a clear chopping guide. The axe came crashing down. The wood split with a sharp crack. This was the first time Grid truly felt the power of a legendary blacksmith. He's the most persistent player I've ever seen. Chopping wood for 6 hours straight. He fully leveled up 2 skills. Even the system couldn't stand it. It unlocked a special stat to increase his stamina. It's not over yet. After a 3-hour journey to the iron mine, Grid worked hard through another night, finally leveling up to the justice rank. Perhaps his legendary class is not Grid's greatest weapon. That was a congratulation for leveling up. Your character is now back to normal. But looking at his attribute panel, Grid couldn't help but take a cold breath. Not to mention the messy ability values. Just the total attribute points add up to 165. Looking at the 40 unallocated points, Grid finally realized he hadn't just leveled up once, but 4 times. He was now truly a numerical monster. Since I completed several primary tasks at the blacksmiths, my affinity with the NPC increased by 60 points. The suddenly enthusiastic blacksmith made Grid feel overwhelmed. But in order to save enough for travel expenses, Grid forced himself not to run away. If you want to make money, you can forge the Yafa sword. This item can be ignored. Some defense is essential for the Forest Guardian's team dungeon. Looking at the bow in hand, Grid activated the identification function. Grade, normal. Attack power, 20 to 26. Your understanding of the Yafa sword has reached 89%. You can now proficiently use the Yafa sword. At this moment, the grumpy blacksmith turned to Grid. If you want to learn, I can teach you. First, filter out the impurities from the limestone and iron ore. Then pour the molten iron into the mold. As long as the mixing ratio of limestone and iron ore is fixed, you'll quickly complete the first step. Having previously gone through the blacksmithing guide, Grid immediately started practicing. But in less than 5 minutes, the practice furnace had already ignited. This speed is even faster than the blacksmith. Even more outrageous, Grid had a temperature reminder in front of him, which further accelerated his practice speed. In just a moment, Grid produced 3 pieces of Yafa cast iron. You have completed the task. Your level has increased. Next, let's start crafting the solid arrow. As Uncle Smith progresses step by step, Grid quickly mastered the crafting method for the tooth blade. He also fully understood the tooth blade, reaching 100% comprehension. Now that he had the materials and the crafting method, Grid instantly triggered the king's constitution. Soon, a perfect sword appeared in Grid's hands. Just when he thought the task was complete, a radiant glow suddenly appeared above the Yafa sword. It was triggering the aura of a legendary blacksmith. With this skill, there's a chance to infuse the will of Pagma's hero while crafting equipment. This can enhance the equipment's attributes by 5%. There's also a very low chance to grant the equipment special abilities. When the light fades away, a supreme Yafa sword appears in front of Grid. Even with an attack power of 35 to 42, it can ignore part of the opponent's defense. There is a certain probability that its special effect completely ignores the opponent's defense. Your task has been completed. Level has been increased. Looking at the purple light of the subtitles, Grid regretted it. If he had aimed for a long sword, he could have sold it for more at least. The spear's maximum attack power is over 40, and it has a special effect that ignores defense. This thing might be even better than a regular level 20 weapon. After receiving 100 Yafa swords and 3 blocks of Yafa iron from the blacksmith, Grid finally walked out of the blacksmith's shop unharmed. As long as these sword stones are sold, I'll have enough money to leave Bylon village. At the same time, the team tackling the forest dungeon encountered a crazy monster assault. As the president of the Justice League, Uncle G, the archer, shouted at the top of his lungs to the team. Open fire, full force. Regis, the tank, Taban, the berserker, and Bender, all charged forward. When the battle was over, the guild leader gritted their teeth and looked at the dead little Gagas on the ground. They had clearly caught the boss, but were ambushed from behind by the minions. The losses this time were too great. Fortunately, they obtained 30 pieces of black iron ore, 1 piece of orichalcum, and 1 piece of blue orichalcum. However, the extremely low drop rate purple crystal shield still did not appear. This time, 75 team members died in the dungeon. Overall, I can only say it's not a loss. There are actually only 17 official members in the Justice League Guild. They adhere to the principle of preferring quality over quantity. They only recruit elite players. It's precisely because of the small number of members that for raids requiring 100 players like this, they can only team up with regular players. But so far, still unable to obtain the Amethyst Shield. The S-level chain quest ends here. Just as the little guys were about to give up, the president suddenly stood up. All members of the Justice League must level up by more than 15 levels within 3 months. If I find out you've been sleeping for more than 6 hours, don't blame me for being real. You all look at the guild leader with a grim expression. The team members could only agree with trembling knees. He arranged the union affairs. Jishuka arrived at the auction. He needed to prepare more Yafa swords for the upcoming dungeon. But when he saw the sword priced at 18 silver coins, Jishuka couldn't help but widen his eyes. He gazes at the epic Yafa sword, wondering who could have crafted it. After all this time, he has commissioned countless blacksmiths, but none have been able to create a higher grade sword stone. Looking at the attributes of the special Yafa sword, Uncle Jiashu almost forgot to breathe. In the game, perhaps there's someone stronger than the blacksmiths in the rankings. Just now, all members of the Justice League received the president's latest task. Among the top 100 blacksmiths, identify players whose level is lower than their skill level. That person could be the key to completing our S-level chain quest. Even the leader of the Justice League, famous for being an elite player, has to admit it. They need the help of this mysterious blacksmith. What happened with the Justice League quickly spread throughout the gaming community, and that epic level Yafa sword became a thorn in every blacksmith's heart. Even Pamel, ranked as the #1 blacksmith, has only crafted 2 epic level items to this day. But when faced with the stats of this Yafa sword, Panmeyer can only sigh in defeat. Who would have known that the mysterious iron frame causing a huge stir in the game is now just waiting in line among the crowded people, all for a temporary job quota of 200 bucks a day. Looking at the 99 rings that have all been sold, they are worth a total of 71 gold coins, plus 28 silver coins. This translates to present day, about 500. Earn 500 in 6 hours. You can't spend that anyway. He immediately went to the auction house, urgently withdrawing his game currency. If he wants to make a living by crafting equipment, there's no need to rush away from Bylon village. But thinking about the blacksmith uncle at the bureau, For the sake of his own rear's health, Grid decisively chose to ride the carriage. He's heading to Winston, a gathering place for beginner players. It's currently under the rule of the Sterling family. Looking at the distant city, Grid was filled with longing. He wondered if, as a descendant of Pagma, he could thrive in the beginner's village. Looking at the bustling streets, this place seems more vibrant than Bailon village. Grid arrived at the warehouse first, planning to store away unnecessary items. Looking at his meager savings, Grid activated his appraisal skill. As his understanding of the equipment increased, the penalties for using equipment above his level were correspondingly reduced. However, in the safe zone, there is no need for the attributes brought by equipment. Hello, the storage fee is 30 silver coins. Grid was determined to succeed. He stored his sword and armor away, but he decided to carry the only remaining elegant bow and arrows with him. After all, increasing the storage space would cost an additional 10 silver coins. With that, Grid arrived at Winston feeling light and unburdened. The blacksmith's shop appeared to be the gate of Morel's. This place is even larger than Byran village. The blacksmith here must be friendlier than that old man before. Grid entered with excitement. To his surprise, the blacksmith shop was empty. Sorry. My blacksmith shop is no longer in business. In fact, due to the coal furnace merchants selling equipment made by blacksmiths from other regions at extremely low prices, no one has come here to buy equipment for a long time. This is trouble. The blacksmith shop is gone. How can I carry out my grand plan to make money now? While the two were chatting idly, a group of thugs rushed in. Get the hell out of here. This place now belongs to the Marrow Merchant Guild. Seeing that the situation was not good, Grid decided to leave immediately. But looking at the smug expression on Little Gaga's face, Grid felt extremely displeased. These guys must be NPC thugs hired by players with gold coins. It looks like they only have about 35 levels. If I help the blacksmith with his troubles, will I be able to gain the blacksmith's assistance? Just as he was thinking, a B-level quest suddenly popped up. The blacksmith's fury. Please help the blacksmith deal with the Marrow Merchant Group's Little Gaga. Also, tear up the contract. Quest rewards learned. The blacksmith's fury. Quest failed. Khan will die because of the blacksmith, and the quest related to him will disappear permanently. Seeing this, Grid begins to consider his chances of winning. Currently, the only skills useful in combat are the blacksmith's patience, and that life-saving immortality skill. The key is that he doesn't have a weapon right now. The only thing he can use is the Yaffa sword in his hand. However, if it can trigger the ignore defense effect, I still have a chance to take them out instantly. Fortune favors the bold. When a person dies, the bird flies to the sky. I'm going for it this time. Grid charged forward quickly with the sword of Jafer. But what awaited him was an attack from the druid Darsali. How come the next batch of low-level warriors is so fast? I must think of a way. Seeing the narrow staircase, Grid jumped up immediately, seizing the advantageous position. But in the next moment, the axe came crashing down. At the critical moment, the blacksmith's anger effect triggered. Attack speed gains another boost. Yaffa arrives before the others, striking the little Gagaga first. Ignoring the defense effect triggered, under the watchful eyes of the other little Gagaga, Grid unexpectedly takes out 35 little warriors in one hit. Since you don't want to be dignified, I'll help you out. Dignity has a bonus to attack speed. Combined with critical hits and defense penetration, Grid can unleash 2 consecutive normal attacks in a short time, instantly defeating the small gag. You dealt with the criminals in Winston, increasing Winston's reputation by 60. You have become sworn enemies with the criminals. You gained 4,300 experience points. Several upgrade prompts appeared before your eyes. Just by killing one person out of their level, Grid has already risen to level 8. Now, his single-class attribute allocation has reached 110. If he wants to take down 4 low-level warriors at once, he needs to allocate his attribute points. Increase strength by 50. Increase agility by 60. The blacksmith's fury has 10 seconds remaining. Grid sidesteps to avoid the attack. He launches a series of strikes at Little Gag's waist. However, this strike doesn't deliver a critical hit, nor does it trigger an effect that ignores defense. Little Gag just gets knocked back. He doesn't die immediately. Now Little Gag and the others understand. The guy with the fork in front isn't some kind of god. He is just using the stairs as cover to limit our mature weapons. Seeing the little ones no longer charge recklessly, Grid calmly walks down the stairs. He silently approaches everyone. Now he needs to wait for an opportunity. No matter how much the little ones talk big, Grid still leisurely walks towards the encirclement. He is waiting for the patience of the legendary blacksmith. Triggering this skill can increase defense and health for 1 hour. And this thing cannot be activated manually, as long as he has his bonus. Combined with the undead effect, it's enough for Grid to withstand the output of 4 people. He can take a chance to take them out. It seems you have already given up. Then let's see you off, brothers. Watching the little rascals about to make a move, but the blacksmith's patience still hasn't been triggered. Grid nearly went to pay respects to the operation's ancestors again. Just then, the little rascal shouted and charged in. Grid quickly jumped up to avoid it. This is bad. No skill effect bonus anymore. How could I, at level 8, possibly defeat 4 level 35 warriors? With a loud bang, Grid was hit by 2 axes at the same time. He immediately pulled out a health potion and drank it. His maximum health was only 316, but he could only drink a 1,500 ultimate health potion. What a waste of $5. A flash of light from the sword suddenly passed by. As Grid sidestepped to dodge, he prepared to welcome the arrival of Xiaifu. He began to precisely insert it onto the axe blade. However, the power disparity between the 2 sides was too great. Grid fell directly to the ground. He lost a full 200 health points. If the passive still couldn't trigger, the newly promoted level 8 legendary blacksmith might anger the Northwest again. Seeing that the dog planner isn't giving face, Grid directly opened 2 bottles of attribute potions. Ultimate strength potion used successfully. Ultimate agility potion used successfully. Each of these potions costs 10 gold. Converted to today's currency, that's about $150. Damn, that's enough for Grid to eat instant noodles for a month. As the potion takes effect, Grid becomes increasingly agile. But facing the coordinated attacks of the 2, Grid, without equipment boosts, is still outmatched. The damage to his thigh severely affects his movement speed. He must find a way to hand over the contract during the cooldown of the health potion. I can still give you a way out. Watching Grid feign calmness. Little Gaga couldn't resist raising his hand in mockery. Kid, you're in deep trouble. Even your life is at risk, Jonas. But before Little Gaga could finish his sentence, Grid suddenly bent forward and charged. Critical hit triggered. Defense ignored. Little Gaga was once again instantly killed. Don't say you were careless. If I don't flash, I definitely won't get 4,300 experience points from NPC Jiang Wuda. You have leveled up. As the Beast Bridge level up prompt appeared, Grid's leg injury was also continuously healing. Now Little Gaga completely understands. No wonder the movement speed suddenly increased. Turns out he's just a little useless junk relying on drugs to hold on. Go die. The longsword was raised high. It was about to slash down at Grid. Seeing the gates wide open, Grid aimed for the angle, holding the Yafa sword as he approached. But another bald man suddenly appeared in front of Grid, blocking the attack of the Yafa sword with his body. He had full face defense. That Inoki mushroom of yours won't be able to kill me. At the same time, two other little guys jumped out from behind the bald guy and launched a combined attack on Grid. Seriously wounded, Grid's health dropped to the bottom. But before he could pull away, the bald guy appeared again. He hugged Grid from behind. You little punk, don't even think about it. I'm just buying time. It's completely over now. If the mission fails, I'm finished. At that critical moment, Grid discovered a complete set of equipment on the second floor. This thing might save my life. The Yafa sword plunged sharply into Xiaojiang's back. Immediately, Grid unhesitatingly threw the ring behind him. Taking advantage of Xiaogaga's moment of distraction, he quickly created some distance. Desperately, he ran towards the second floor. Under Xiaogaga's bloodthirsty gaze, Grid finally arrived in front of the mysterious equipment. Can the blacksmith lend me this for a moment? Of course. But you won't be able to wear it. In the next moment, the little guys have also arrived on the second floor, still trying to resist when death is near. I see you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. As soon as those words were spoken, they pounced on him, clearly not planning to waste any more time. The fabric flashed by. Grid looked at everyone with a cold expression. At this moment, he was already wearing the treasured sword of the blacksmith shop. With a sudden swing of his sword, it was as easy as cutting through vegetables. Three little gaggas simultaneously met their end. Congratulations on dealing with Winston. The lawbreakers gained 15,200 experience points. The favorability with Khan has reached its peak. The B-level quest, Blacksmith's Fury, has been completed. The legendary blacksmith Grid finally received equipment worthy of his prestige. He is fully clad in radiant gold armor. Plus, he wields a 10-meter-long greatsword. Valhalla level unique. Defense increased by 872. Increases health recovery speed by 20%. Increases defense against slashing and piercing by 10%. Usage condition, level 250 and above. Hergmes' Sword Fire Fox Replica. Level 1. Increases attack power by 451 to 635. Decreases attack speed by 8%. Gains adaptive damage bonus based on opponent's defense. Requires level 250 or above. Based on the principle that a longer magnetic strip is more impressive. This set of equipment is definitely not simple. It seems that this old blacksmith is also a person with a story. Unexpectedly, Griddle asked. But the old blacksmith suddenly fainted on the ground. Can NPCs really get drunk too? Since the first task is already completed, uncle. So what is the next task? But how does Blackgrid inquire? The old blacksmith remains unresponsive. What happened to the promised chain quest? Come on, get up quickly. Do you believe I'll scatter your ashes? Meanwhile, the president of the Marrow Merchant Group has already learned about the mysterious disappearance of the little Gagas. To monopolize Winston's blacksmith business, the Marrow Trading Company paid a high price. They definitely won't tolerate the existence of other blacksmith shops. Since someone is openly provoking, I'll let him see what the hell a trading company is. The next morning, Grid was stuffing his face with fried rice, looking like a total pig. He leveled up to level 21 in one go. I also found a set of unique great equipment. This B-level chain quest is really profitable. I wonder how Khan is recovering in the hospital. I want to use this chain quest to make a significant upgrade and return to Smith's hospital. Khan the blacksmith has already sobered up from his hangover. He can be discharged now, as long as he controls his drinking. The old man doesn't have any other issues. But before Grid could feel happy, the doctor approached from behind with a grim face. The treatment fee is 1 gold coin. You're not thinking of trying to skip out on the bill, are you? Back at the blacksmith shop, Grid carefully helped the old blacksmith to the equipment stand. Old man, please give me this set of equipment. It's not much use to you anyway. How about I take care of you in your old age? Although Grid saved the old blacksmith's life, these two heirlooms have been guarded by his family for generations. For hundreds of years, only the man named Pagma could perfectly wield this set of equipment. Because of this, the old blacksmith's ancestors wanted to bow to Pagma. But that man did not accept the equipment. He said that in the future, the true owner of this set of equipment will appear. So how do you harness it? Looking at the serious expression of the old blacksmith, Grid nearly laughed out loud. The chain quest has finally been triggered. Under the astonished gaze of the old blacksmith, Grid's cheeks gradually became flushed. I am actually a descendant of Pagmara. As soon as the words were spoken, a system prompt popped up. Quest triggered, follow the clue of Pagmara's sword dance. Collect all legends related to Pagmara. Accepting the quest will prevent any change of class. Quest completion condition, complete all chain quests. Chain quest 1, successfully learn Pagmara's sword dance. Reward the sword of Ward Hegni. After reading the job transfer details, Grid nearly burst into tears. Damn, they split the weapons and armor into 2 parts for the dog planner. How stingy is that? Grid had the heart of a grandson, wanting to get rid of 2 unique great items. But the dog planner, he directly struck Grid back into human form. Since you fear the descendants of Garma, let's drink to celebrate. Seeing the old man about to get drunk again, Grid immediately seized the bottle. At that moment, a cultured man's voice came from the door. Are you the blacksmith Khan? Grid took the opportunity to collect the rum. After all, it's worth 2 gold coins. Are they from the Melro Merchant Guild? But the old blacksmith lowered his head in shame. It turns out that things are not so easily resolved. Since you owe us 600 gold coins and cannot repay, I would like to give you another opportunity. As long as you hand over the blacksmith shop, we will offer you a high salary and the right to operate it. I won't wait for the man to finish speaking. The old blacksmith decisively chose to refuse. You want me to be the lapdog of the Melro Merchant Group? What a ridiculous thought. Who would have thought that little Gaga would show an expression of as expected after hearing this? Then I'll make a compromise. Let's have a duel to forge equipment. As long as you can win, we will cancel your debt. If you lose, though, the blacksmith shop will be ours. The terms sound quite tempting. But I haven't competed in a long time. Is it alright if my successor competes for me? The old blacksmith pointed at him. Grid instantly freaked out. Damn it, he's not thinking about me doing the good stuff. But I ended up doing the hard labor. Before Grid could continue complaining, a system notification popped up. Egypt mission. Engage in equipment crafting duel with the Melro Trading Company. Quest reward, plus 500 reputation with Winston. And 600 gold. Mission failed. Winston's reputation has hit an all-time low. Ownership of the Khan blacksmith shop will also transfer to the Melro Consortium. Consider whether to accept the option. Grid found himself hesitating. This isn't part of the chain quest. Should he take the risk or not? As the number 600 flashed before his eyes. What are you still hesitating for? There's nothing to hesitate about. Grid instantly felt an overwhelming determination. It was as if he was transcending in a sea of gold coins. Since you all agree, I'll take my leave now. I'll send someone to notify you of the time and place later. At this moment, there was no trace of Zyagaga in Grid's eyes. 600 gold coins convert to 4,500 cash. That's my monthly salary. As a legendary blacksmith, how can I back down from forging? At that moment, the old blacksmith took out several long swords. Before the competition, you can use these to practice. Watching the busy blacksmith, Grid shook his shoulders. Don't worry, I will definitely help you win the blacksmith shop back. After all, you are my benefactor. After a whole night of hard work, Master Go finally sat up from the game pod. He looked at the sunset outside. Suddenly, Grid felt like he hadn't played enough. Sure enough, the blacksmith in the bureau is friendlier. Grid was determined to go all out. He kept honing his skills. Meanwhile, the Melro Trading Company had already posted betting notices in the city. After reading the notice, this was clearly a case of having one's cake and eating it too. Khan took the notice, torn to shreds. Don't be deceived by their sweet talk. Don't forget who pushed us to this point. While Grid stood by silently, eating popcorn, one foot raised a hand. I think the Melro Trading Group did nothing wrong. When he was developing the Winston Business District, he didn't force anyone. Seeing the green light above little Gaga's head, Grid finally understood. It turns out this kid is also a player. Since we're all here for profit, there's no need for such deep resentment. Coexisting harmoniously with the Melro Merchant Group is the way forward for everyone. As little Gagaga finished persuading, the PCs actually changed their stance. This scene left Grid utterly dumbfounded. Damn, so this game can actually rely on words? Karn, however, stepped forward at this moment. Outsider, you may not be aware. This is the territory governed by Count Sterling. The Count once issued a decree. It's called the People's Right to Know, which means that the residents have the right to receive information about the area's development as soon as possible. And the Melro Merchant Guild has clearly not complied. He used the interest rate spread to deceive the residents. He acquired the land and shops in our hands at an extremely low price. Xiao Gaga fell into deep thought after hearing this. Since the Mei Luo Trading Group and the Lords openly violated the Count's decree, I, Hulu, will also help everyone appeal to the Count on their behalf. Looking at the hopeful eyes of the people, Grid was shocked. It was unbelievable. This guy can actually take the initiative to guide the plot development. Who exactly is he? In the woods outside the village, Grid caught up with the departing Gagaga. If I'm not mistaken, you just started with a task from the Melro Trading Group, right? How did you manage to change the task midway? Who would have thought that Xiao Gaga would casually raise his hand? Task sharing activated. Grid finally saw the details of Xiao Gaga's task. For the residents of Winston, Level A task condition, visit Count Stalin's. Task reward, earn the title of Justice Messenger. The goodwill and prestige of the residents of Winston will all reach the highest level. Additionally, one can receive Count Stalin's rewards. The rewards for this mission are way too much. How did you manage to get this? It's a hidden quest. Seeing Grid's envious gaze, Xiao Gaga didn't hide it. In fact, this game has a very high degree of freedom. If you actively intervene in the NPC storyline, you can unlock related hidden quests. Basically, all players will play the internal test. Know this method. But Grid, for some reason, doesn't know it. The key is, this guy is also an internal test player, and he's one of the earliest ones. Amid the mockery of Xiao Gaga, Grid shamefully logged off. Watching the disappearing nameless player, Huloyi straightens up, ready to move forward. Since the beginning of the game, he's been online for a solid 18 hours every day, and has only leveled up to 127. As a special class debater, he doesn't have any exclusive gear, and in terms of attribute bonuses, he's at the bottom of all classes. So he urgently needs the special attribute of courage that enhances both attack and defense. But Huloyi firmly believes that as long as he perseveres, he can definitely become a ranked player. This is the confidence of a true gamer. After bidding farewell to Grid, Huloyi headed straight to the city gate. Only by leaving here can he meet Count Staling. But before little Gagaga could convince the soldiers, a familiar voice came from behind. Huloyi, according to our previous agreement, you need to report to me after stirring up the residents. Looking at the steward of the Melro Merchant Group, Huloyi immediately activated his persuasion skills. I'm just going outside to take care of some matters. I'll be back soon to complete the task you assigned. However, the butler was completely unfazed. In my opinion, You have already betrayed the merchant group. As soon as these words were spoken, Hulu-E was instantly shocked. Why did the persuasion skill have no effect? Not giving Hulu-E a chance to argue further, the butler ordered the soldiers to make an arrest by force. Hulu-E turned to run away. But as an orator, he didn't have the skills to escape. The whip suddenly lashed out. Hulu-E was struck directly. It looked like he was about to become the next prisoner. He quickly drew the orator's weapon. But Hulu-E, who wasn't skilled in combat, was no match for the NPC soldiers. There was only one way out. Forced logout. You cannot exit the game now. Seeing the system prompt, Hulu-E was completely shocked. We have the ability to prevent players from logging off normally, to stop you from causing trouble after respawning. You will be imprisoned in the underground jail. Meanwhile, the A-level mission has been upgraded to an S-level mission. Completion conditions are based on real-world time. You cannot exit the game within 50 hours. This mission is very dangerous. Would you like to give up? According to the current count, the maximum stay in the game pod is 20 hours. If you exceed this time, you will be forcibly logged out from the terminal. According to its current playtime, if I stay another 50 hours, I might very well have a mental breakdown. But if I adjust the game pod to sleep mode, there's a certain chance I can last for 50 more hours. Fortune favors the bold. Hulu-E chose to accept the mission. As a quest reward, you will gain the second profession, Justice Envoy's Companion. By the side of the Justice Envoy, all ability values will increase by 20. You will gain the skills of unyielding justice and sacrifice for justice. There are no penalties for failing the quest. The game pod will also adjust to sleep mode at this moment. From now on, Hulu-E will stay in the game pod for 50 hours. In case of an emergency, the game company will urgently dispatch staff for rescue. Please do not forcibly cut the power. The sleeping Hulu-E has made a decision. As long as someone can rescue him from the dungeon, he will offer his own heart. Hulu-E's choice also shook the game executives. If successful, he will become the first player among 2 billion to have dual classes. The game company will also keep a close watch to ensure that Hulu-E does not encounter any accidents, because this mission will be a significant event to expand the game's sales. However, something unexpected happened beyond the game planner's control. The original storyline was supposed to have the NPC swordsman going to the dungeon to rescue the quester, but due to Hulu-E sharing the mission midway, so this led to the existence of that variable. This made tasks that should be easy to complete in the design turn into a high difficulty task that could only be accomplished by a man named Grid. The success rate is only 9%. How high can the freedom of a game really be? The plot can actually change based on the player's choices. But what the game development company didn't expect was the existence of this guy, Grid. They are also planning to promote with dual career players and those who have been online for 50 consecutive hours. Since the success rate isn't 0%, let's not interfere for now. Looking at the 21st episode of Lil Gaga on the screen, the game planner still can't hide his headache. This kid is like a virus, and I can't just delete him at will. But thinking about Grid's incompetence, Dad planned with a crooked smile to play a legendary class like this. This kid can be considered the first. Actually, in this game, there have only been 3 epic classes so far. The only known one is the bloody warrior called Cass. And the identity of the original epic class player has always been a mystery. The discussion on this topic has never stopped in the forums. But up until now, no one knows who that player really is. In the direct territory of Count Styrenberg, in the LaCroix dungeon, the little Gagas are eagerly showcasing their strongest skills, all in an effort to win Mina's party invitation. Seeing that the sizes and durability of the little Gagas are quite average, Mina can't hide her disappointment. Just then, a sudden and intense explosion sounded from behind. The flame tornado appeared before Mina like a giant beast that could swallow the sky. This is it. As long as I have this, it should be enough. Skill replication activated. After a brief tremor from Little Gaga, a level 3 vortex of wind appeared in Mina's hand. This skill can create a massive storm for 5 seconds. Damage per second, 1,530 to 2,380. It will also reduce the opponent's agility by 80%. After watching the skill introduction, the level 190 copy Warlock smirked slightly and said, "You're a good person. We'll meet again next time." As soon as the words fell, Mina disappeared in front of everyone. The next moment, he arrived in a dark underground space. For this S-rank mission, Mina prepared for a full 63 days to execute the traitors of the Red Knights. The mission reward is the title Vengeance Proxy. This title will unlock brutal stats. Attack power increases by 100. Gain the skill Killing Impulse. Mission failure results in losing 2 levels. All preparations are ready. The stone door slowly opens. The Eternal Concealer, Piero, appears. He is the strongest knight of the Saharan Empire. He is also the final boss of this mission. Countless forces descend from the sky. The battle officially begins. Daltan launches a massive strike. The Black Giant emerged from Mina, rushing towards something similar. This is the strongest defensive skill of the Guardian Knight class. The Copy Sorcerer class only has 9 basic skills, but it can be activated 3 times a day. Mina has gathered as many as 50 copies, the ultimate skill of high-level players, although it can only be used once. But taking down the knight in front of me should be more than enough. As the first wave of attacks subsided, Piero charged towards Mina. Seeing the sharp blade, Mina smiled, knowing she was the first to possess an epic class. What of an S-rank quest? The counter barrier activated, unleashing an invisible force that rebounded Piero back. Before she falls from the sky, the chaotic vortex activates. A fierce storm sweeps the area. It inflicts continuous damage for a full 5 seconds. Even you wouldn't feel good, would you? At that moment, an anomaly arises. Suddenly, a blinding light emerges from the storm. A series of knight skills kept flashing. With a loud bang, the strongest knight suddenly shattered into stone blocks. How is this possible? An S-rank boss can't be this weak. Moreover, Mina did not receive a task completion prompt. Immediately, he floated into the air. He prepared to create distance. First, drink a bottle of recovery potion before we talk. But at that moment, a black vortex suddenly appeared in front of me. Piero charged in unharmed. The evasion skill activated. Piero's eyes were cold, wanting to crush the flower. But Mina was already prepared. The nightmare projection activated. The nightmarish light of the jet covered Piero. His gaze gradually lost its brilliance. He fell into a hallucination. Mina also took the opportunity to drop from the sky. This move was copied to counter Bus's ultimate technique. Although the control time is relatively short, as long as there's a chance to restore the blue energy, I can unleash damage. The ultimate move is enough to end the battle. At this moment, several system prompts popped up. You have exceeded the skill usage limit. Skills cannot be used for a period of time. All attribute points decreased by 50%. Using 3 consecutive high-level skills drained all of Mina's mana. He unwillingly raised his head. Only then did he realize that Pierello's gaze had already returned to clarity. It's too insane. Controlling time for less than 2 seconds. Mina couldn't help but curse. She decisively chose to abandon the mission. Your level has dropped by 2. Amos's trust level has decreased. The plan that took 2 months to prepare has fallen through. This is the perfect opportunity to gain a new title. Mina rubbed her head. At that moment, an NPC named Gaga approached. Hello, are you Elena? Someone asked me to give you a message. They hope you can accept the task. Piero did it. Mina, who has no temper, lazily looks at the task panel. Success reward, 1,500 gold coins, plus the title of Master of Victory. Due to the uniqueness of the copying talent, Mina had once worked as a blacksmith under the name Elena for a while. Since the S-rank task was not completed, getting a title of Victor isn't bad either. At this moment, Grid is still complaining. Giving such a good mission to someone I've just met. Aren't you treating me like your own grandson? Ken had to explain. The whole village is under the watch of the Melro merchants. You're already one of us. How could we let you go out and take risks? That task is more suitable for outsiders. Seeing Khan's aggrieved expression after being misunderstood, Greed didn't say much more. After 2000, we'll start to despise. Let's continue training. At the very least, we can't embarrass you. Precise control of fire. Increasingly skillful strikes. Congratulations, you've created an epic level item. All stats increased by 4. Fame across the continent increased by 80. Craftsmanship improved. However, the blacksmith's skill and mastery of the blacksmith's aura, these 2 skills are improving slowly. Looking at the 130 unassigned attribute points, Grid stroked his chin in thought. If you want to win in a duel, you must allocate some points into skills. Stamina plus 60. Skill plus 70. As the golden light flashed, Grid seemed to be blessed with dual guns. Is this the right way to unlock the legendary blacksmith? Just keep crafting equipment. You can gain attribute bonuses. Although the process is quite dry, Grid is just like Qingyan. A man with 8 blocks of dryness. Tomorrow's duel. I'll let you experience what the hell it means to be a professional blacksmith. The next morning, Winston Central Square. It's filled with spectators eagerly watching. Not only are there NPCs from Winston, but also those who came by reputation. On the left is the representative group of the Khan blacksmiths. The competitor is Grid. On the right is the Marrow trading group. The competitor is Elena. Everyone finally got a good look at Irene. The Khan delegation immediately disbanded on the spot. They all turned into Irene's cheering squad. But in front of Grid, whether black or white stockings, nothing compares to the value of gold coins. The duel officially begins now. Level 188 Finger Sorcerer team versus level 21 Pagma's Archer. Following the task panel, Mina has already made calculations in her mind. At the moment the other party is crafting equipment. She will copy Grid's blacksmithing skills. Under the premise of using the same technique, the side with better luck will be able to forge higher level equipment. So, even though she is not a blacksmith, she still has a significant chance of winning. But when he looked up at Fried, that guy had already started forging. I didn't expect this kid to be such a weirdo. Mina immediately took out the epic smithing hammer. This equipment can only be used by someone with blacksmithing skills. Mina no longer hesitated. Skill replication activated. Her eyes emitted an eerie glow, staring intently at Grid. But a surprising scene occurred for Mina. The skill replication actually failed. My observation skill has already reached level 7. By rights, I should be able to replicate even advanced blacksmithing skills. Why is it failing with this guy? Could it be that he is also an epic class holder? It's impossible now. He knows all 3 epic players in the game. This kid doesn't belong here at all. No matter what caused it. If this continues, the mission will fail. Mina immediately called the steward of the Merlot trading group. You should let this kid's master join in too. I don't think he qualifies to challenge me one-on-one. Upon hearing Mina's words, the butler was also quite surprised, but still fulfilled his request. Master Elena proposed a 1 against 2. Truly a genius blacksmith of her generation. Khan shook his arms as he walked to the stage, feeling a twinge of reluctance in his heart. But to protect the blacksmith, Pukai is all in. As the grandfather and grandson worked together, Mina finally found the chance to copy. Successfully copied the advanced blacksmith skill. Copy the old to forge the new. I really am a genius. Grid never expected this. I can't believe there's such an unscrupulous NPC. After Mina copied Khan's advanced blacksmithing skills, she raised her advanced hammer and started her forging. Amidst the cheers of the audience, Mina had already completed the fitness part. However, the 2 behind her were still stuck in the first phase. Their speed was slower than that of just one person. It looks like she's already won. At this moment, Grid is fully immersed in forging. His cooperation with Khan is very seamless. Whether it's the rhythm of the hammer or the control of the heat, and the refining of the materials, everything is perfect. Just at the moment when the weapon is successfully forged, the legendary blacksmith's aura has been triggered. This time, he can definitely create an extraordinary weapon. Meanwhile, the butler in the stands notices something unusual. That kid doesn't look like Khan's apprentice at all. Instead, it seems like Khan is having him assist. Who exactly is he? Looking at the Minotaur's horn on the stove. This thing cost Grid a full 10 gold coins. Once the hilt he makes is finished, that'll be it. But Mina has already raised her hand. In less than 3 hours, he crafted a beautifully designed, lightweight short sword. Now, let's take a look at Master AI's work together. Enchanting Short Sword, Epic. Attack power, 112 to 127. Attack speed increased by 8%. Also, there is a certain chance to charm enemies. Usage requirements, level 100 or above. Grid is feeling even more pressure at this moment. Epic equipment can no longer dominate the competition. Then I'll create something even higher level. With a series of popping sounds echoing on the table. Grid's weapon has also been completed. Just then, the arena's gates were suddenly flung open. A group of soldiers charged straight toward Grid. Someone reported you as being in cahoots with the terrorist Huloi. That's why you were arrested. Due to this incident, everyone in Khan was shocked. Huloi was actually captured by them. And these guys were despicable enough to interfere with the competition. Evil capitalists. Watching Grid being taken away by the soldiers, the butler lowered his head meaningfully. A delicate short sword appeared on the stove. Compared to Mina's, this is the true unparalleled sword. The president never intended to have a fair duel with Khan. If Mina wins, everything will be fine. If there are signs of losing, then just capture the blacksmith directly. Mina also discovered this matter. However, for him, as long as the objective of the task issuer is achieved, it won't affect his reward. At the steward's suggestion, Mina successfully completed the task, and earned the title of Victory Master. The Fighting Spirit ability is unlocked. Activate Luck ability points. This skill will determine the status effect based on the dice roll. You are deliberately slandering him, aren't you? The butler did not answer you directly. Actually, he is not a blacksmith. Basic operations are unfamiliar. Yet he used advanced blacksmith skills. I'm afraid you possess a similar copying skill. Mina's heart suddenly jolted at those words. When did NPCs become so smart? They can actually see through my true actions. It doesn't matter now. The Marrow Merchant Group is about to be destroyed. I am just preparing to find new opportunities. Khan's blacksmith shop has given me hope. And the one called Grid is the true master of forging. His abilities, combined with my connections, can definitely open up new possibilities. So, are you willing to help me rescue him? Ignoring Mina's shocked expression, I immediately issued an S-rank mission. To help Rabbit rescue Grid. And defeat the Marrow Trading Company and Lord Winston. Quest reward, 5,000 gold coins. Having known that little blacksmith for less than 5 hours, I've already received 1 A-level quest and 1 S-level quest. This kid really is my lucky charm. Meanwhile, over with Khan, everyone from the village has gathered. They are prepared to personally defend the village's freedom. Suddenly, an arrow shot in. President Monka stands coldly at the door. Captain of the guard. This group of rioters is up to you. Our trading group consists of civilized people. It's inconvenient to use force. In the dark, gloomy prison. Hua has already lost track of how many days have passed. He is now on the brink of collapse. The gaming company is always keeping an eye on his situation. If we don't force him to exit now, it could lead to irreversible consequences. However, the regional manager doesn't want to miss such a great promotional opportunity. Trust Grid. He is someone who can create miracles. Just hold on a little longer. There are only 2 hours left until the 50-hour mark. In the underground prison, Grid faced the soldier Zyagaga's questioning without flinching. A bunch of brainless guys. If you have the guts, kill me. He had already set his respawn point at the Khan blacksmith shop. As long as he dies, he can come back to life. Who would have thought Zyagaga suddenly shut him up? Don't be impulsive. This guy is immortal. As long as we keep him locked up, sooner or later, he'll confess everything. Gazing at the guy talking behind him, Grid felt a chill in his heart. Locked in prison. Even if he logged in again, he couldn't escape. Is betrayal the only option? Is it Khan? The iron gate slammed shut. Grid was ultimately locked away. It's not that he was too principled. It's that the soldiers didn't even give him a chance to speak. At that moment, an S-class mission arrived uninvited. The mission was to rescue Huno. The task completion condition is to rescue Huloi within 1 hour. The task reward is to obtain the title of Justice Messenger. Unlock the courage ability value. This new task is actually related to that kid, but he's also the one taking over as a prisoner now. How can I rescue him within the game time of 7 hours? And if this task fails, the punishment is too harsh, right? The tragedy is that Grid doesn't even have the right to refuse. Just as Grid was feeling frustrated about being executed, a familiar voice called out to him. Grid, where are you? Seeing Mina's figure swaying outside the cell, Grid, unable to speak, could only bang his head against the door. The clanging sound caught Mina's attention. I finally found you. I brought you a gift. Saying this, she took out the short sword crafted by Grid. I didn't expect this girl to be so kind. I was wrong to suspect her. But, there's a condition. After you get out, you need to make me a jewel that stores magic power. That's a magical item. Although Grid wasn't confident, but when under someone else's roof, he had no choice but to nod and agree. Just when Grid thought he was safe, a large group of soldiers surrounded him. Damn it, this is what you call saving me? I can't help but give you a 6 for that. Facing so many enemies, Grid couldn't help but draw the weapon he crafted himself. The only attack power for this level is 242 to 264. Attack speed increased by 11%. There is a very low chance to instantly kill enemies. Gains the skills of sharp blade and quick movement. Since you are the creator, you have reached 100% understanding. But you do not meet the usage conditions. Attack power decreased by 20%. Attribute bonus decreased by 50%. She looked at the light emitted by the short sword. Mina was startled. How did you do that? You can master martial arts in an instant. Grid did not answer. Instead, he looked at Mina meaningfully. This woman didn't keep the weapon for herself. In fact, her character isn't that bad. But before he could think of how to get in the car, Xiao Gaga's attack had already begun. Seeing the soldiers approaching, crackling sounds echoed from the short sword. The skill, Blade Edge, was activated. A burst of sharp sword energy shot out. In this narrow passage, there's simply no way to dodge. With just one strike, dozens of ordinary soldiers were taken out. Mina couldn't help but clap beside him. This is so unreliable. Are you here to be a cheerleader? Looking at the increasing number of soldiers, there's only an hour and a half left to complete the task. Grid couldn't help but call for help. But Mina was completely unfazed. My skills are one-time use only. If you want me to work overtime, you'll have to pay more. Seeing the other party raising the price, Grid couldn't help but mock. You're only 1.5 meters tall, but I have an appetite of 200 pounds. Did your mom grow horizontally? As soon as the words were out, Mina's breath instantly turned furious. Joking aside, don't make fun of my height. I have a really bad temper. The spear of annihilation shot out. He flew out, brushing against Grid's cheek. The black energy struck like a lance directly into the group of soldiers. A surging explosion ravaged the dungeon. One man's might actually took down several soldiers. The captain's massive chasm spanned across the corridor. This guy actually has that skill. Grid's worldview almost shattered. He silently recited 3 times that only a mature woman could withstand the lowly's crystal. I warn you again. Don't mention my height. Otherwise, next time my skills might be a bit more accurate. We've searched the 3rd floor. They still haven't found Hului. There's still 1 hour and 10 minutes left, until the mission ends. Perhaps he's hiding on the 4th underground floor. But before the two could continue, the sound of pursuers came from behind. We should hurry. Otherwise, we won't complete the mission. Just then, Mina noticed a strange flower. In the dark, dungeon-like place, how could there be such a beautiful flower? Suddenly, an axe fell from midair. It almost caused Grid to split up. It turned out that Mina picked the flower despite the warnings. This place is filled with traps. Listen to me, don't move recklessly. A boulder suddenly fell. The reason was that Mina behind us picked up and ate the banana growing in the crevice. She triggered this trap mechanism. Grid stepped on almost all the traps. Seeing that the pursuers were arriving, he immediately jumped into the pit. He quickly walked deeper into the dungeon. The Frost Queen's aura activated, and the entire swimming lane was covered in chill. The space here is too small, making it impossible to use fire magic. Otherwise, I'll turn them all into high-tech roasted ducks. Besides the fire-type duplication skills, there are still 11 left. But among so many guards, Mina did not see the 5 strongest. Knight Winston hopes Grid can successfully rescue Huroi. At this moment, Xiao Gaga actually wants to split up. Send someone to pursue. Grid unleashed another high-level skill. Take people's money. Bring disaster to others. I have a high professional ethic. In the dark cell, the tragic cries of Hinui echoed. With a significant drain on both spirit and stamina, he has reached his limit. This shout also caught Grid's attention. As he followed the sound, he ran into Sir Winston around the corner. This guy is one of the 5 strongest soldiers. Moreover, all 5 knights are at least level 180. They are simply not something the current Grid can handle. But there was no chance to speak. The knight has charged. He has come up. The blacksmith is furious. He initiates a quick move. He has drawn his bow. Grid has no choice. In the next moment, the longsword is already in front of Grid. This speed greatly exceeded his expectations. It was too fast. Grid barely had time to block with his arrow horizontally. His whole body was sent flying. If not for the speed boost, he might have logged off and ordered takeout by now. A mere blacksmith can block one of my strikes? Who do you think you're insulting? The flame arrow exploded violently, its scorching energy sweeping over Grid. You took 17,300 damage. The immortality skill has been triggered. All attacks are ineffective for 5 seconds. So strong. Grid is gulping down a health potion. He is thinking about how to make use of these 5 seconds. But the knight on the other side suddenly stopped moving. When the flames dissipated, he realized that this guy had actually been cooked by his own flames. So Mina wasn't lying to me. You really can't use open flames in a sealed space. No wonder this guy's flame damage is so high. Turns out he's a bomb. Dad, you defeated Winston Knight and earned the title Knight Killer. You obtained the prison key. Then a series of upgrade notifications popped up. Let Grid rise from level 21 to level 45. Even if his damn biological father came, he wouldn't be so generous. With a click, the prison gate opened. Grid looked down at the dejected little Gaga. He couldn't help but smile. Although you've caused me quite a bit of trouble, I'll overlook it for the reward. I forgive you. In Hulo's eyes, Grid is his savior. He is like a second father. Simply put, Dad, congratulations on acquiring the partner ability of courage for the 2nd career, Justice Messenger. Grid also received the task completion notification. Congratulations on acquiring the title of Justice Messenger and unlocking the ability of courage. The favorability with the residents of Winston has reached its peak. Mr. Grid, you are my savior. I, Hului, will offer you my heart. Seeing little Gaga's serious expression, Grid looked completely puzzled. Is he really free to play giant jokes here? Have the enemies on the other side of the mountain been dealt with? How strong can a replicator really be? You could say that as long as he has enough time. It's like a god has come. Even then, he would need to leave a leg behind to get back. With just a high-level skill he replicated, he took down 500 of the little Gaga. But his replication skill has already run out. From this moment on, he is the weakest class with only 9 support skills. Looking at the several elite warriors gathered in front of her, Mina was about to crumble. When is that guy Grid going to come back? Or after he saves Huroi? Will he even come back? Just as the Jingwei squad was about to work together to strike, Mina had to go all in. 3 fire magic spells left. In this enclosed space, using them means mutual destruction. Suddenly, the little Gagaga has charged forward. The longsword slashed fiercely. Mina quickly ducked to dodge. But there was no chance for a reaction. Another little Gagaga had already closed in. The crystal shield activates instantly. This is the inherent ability of the copying sorcerer. The fragile shield is completely ineffective against high-level warriors. Mina is violently slammed against the wall. It turns out to be just a bluff. You've killed so many people. Dying under my sword is no injustice. Just as the long sword is about to fall, Nana suddenly became filled with hatred. She charged straight at the long sword. It's the leader who initiated it. He's taking a gamble. He bets that he can gain a status boost. At that moment, a man's voice interrupted them. For big men against one girl, do you still have any face left? Seeing Grid and Floyd, Mina finally felt relieved. But the little guards were shocked beyond belief. since he can come out here now. That means Leo is already dead. But why would a blacksmith have such a strong presence? Seeing Grid command the scene alone, Mina was stunned. NPCs only experience fear when facing players who are over 30 levels above them. Who is this man, really? What is his true level? Huroy's admiration for Grid deepened even more. Truly a man who makes my heart race. In order to strike while the iron is hot, Grid laughed and kept pushing forward, forcing several elite knights to retreat continuously. They were now facing the entrance to the stairs. They had nowhere left to retreat. The time is right. Grid whispered to Mina beside him. You should still have some fire magic left to use. Hurry up and blast them away. You're so powerful. Aren't you going to show us what you can do? What the hell? I'm just a blacksmith. I'm not good at fighting. This kind of heavy lifting definitely falls to you. Just then, while the two were talking, the knight, with no way out, charged forward. The long sword instantly reached Grid. Damn, that was fast. Did I overdo it? A sharp metallic clang echoed in front of me. Hulu stepped up at the critical moment, blocking the knight's attack. With a loud clang, the longsword hit the ground. The knight was trembling all over from the shock. At this moment, the gourd shimmered with golden light. It resembled an unbeatable war god. Don't worry, boss. I'm fine. My resilient will can withstand any attack for 10 seconds. This is limited to once. Cooldown time is 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'll hold them off. You all go ahead. Looking at Huluo's calm expression, Grid turned around and left without hesitation. You have to trust your teammates. He can do it. Seeing that the knight still wanted to pursue, Huluo shouted loudly, activating the poison snake skill, comparable to old 8. The shouting from Huluo spewed forth like a hamburger. Cursed attributes will be reduced for everyone. Immediately, Hulu tightened his fists. Unyielding justice. This skill can deal 300% physical area damage. A piercing light gathered on his fist. A fierce explosion erupted among the 4 knights. The momentum was terrifying. Yet it didn't even break little Gaga's armor. Indeed, the orator is not a profession skilled in combat. I crouched down, not falling into weakness. My mission is complete. I can exit the game at any time. As long as I can ensure Lord Grid's safe escape. Nothing else matters. The light is right in front of us. Grid and Mina have finally escaped from prison. But now is not the time to relax. If the prison knights meet up with the Lord's guards, they still risk being caught and taken back. What you fear will come. Following where Grid points. It turns out that the Lord really came with the Imperial Guard to block the door. You bunch of bastards. How dare you cause trouble in my territory? If they manage to escape and complain, my title will be at risk. I won't even give Grid a chance to argue. With a wave of his hand, the Lord ordered the Imperial Guard to kill without mercy. It's up to you to take care of Mina from here. It's quite spacious here. It won't affect your performance. Even at this point, you're still pretending to be weak. Mina is going crazy. Is it always this strange for masters? It can't be replicated. The light shines. The Demon King's tail flame is unleashed. The black flames surged towards the Qingwei army like a giant dragon. A violent explosion engulfed all the enemies. Even the Lord was thrown to the ground. When the flames finally subsided, all the Qingwei army had perished. No one was spared. A devastating high-level fire magic. It's terrifying like this. Alright, my lord. I'm not happy at all right now. Because someone used me as a pawn. Do you want to take us out willingly? Or should I give you a beating first? Before you take us out, the door slowly opens. The Lord dejectedly followed behind Mina and Grid. Little did he know, the steward had already brought the people from the Marrow Trading Company to wait at the door. Could it be that the mission isn't over? Or does Mina have another task with the Marrow Trading Company? But why would he want to save me? Is it just to personally hand me over to the Marrow Trading Company? In those few seconds, countless thoughts flashed through Grid's mind. The enemy has more than a dozen combat members. He only has weapons now. No armor. Let's first add 240 attribute points. Increase strength by 150. Increase stamina by 90. Grid is ready to fight to the death. No matter what, he can't let this woman exhaust herself in vain. Sure enough, what Mom said was right. You can't trust beautiful women. At this moment, Grid wasn't aware. According to his current attribute values, combined with the unique weapon in his hand, his true combat power might have already surpassed that of a level 100 player. But since he started playing the new class, he had only encountered ranked players or first-generation epic players. This experience made him mistakenly believe that he couldn't pull himself together at all. But before Grid could fall apart, the Bound Lord ran out first. What are the butler and that woman talking about? Hurry up and get me out of here. I'm sorry, my lord. I have already resigned, and I will inform the Count of your crimes. Let him judge you. Looking at the furious lord, the steward scoffed. I am a merchant. Of course, I will choose the one with the greatest benefit. Mr. Greed, with your production ability, with my team's support, we're more than capable of creating a brand new medium-sized trading company. I see. Grid's heart finally settled. Then let's leave it at that for now. Ms. Mina and I have more important matters to address. We'll discuss the detailed plan when we return. The development of the plot left Grid momentarily stunned. He could only stand there dumbfounded and motionless. And don't forget the only video you promised me. Baiju, don't forget. I'll send you a private message when I find the materials and blueprints. Then we shall meet again. Watching Mina and the butler leave, Grid finally smiled with satisfaction. The Ultimate Merchant Group. This is a business capable of supporting a small studio. Damn, I actually have the potential to become capital. Unbelievable. On the other side, Mina told the butler about what happened in the dungeon. That man's true strength is extremely powerful. Not only did he defeat the Lord's Knight in a one-on-one fight, but he also intimidated 4 knights by himself, making them too afraid to move. The butler showed a shocked expression upon hearing this. A blacksmith can possess such strong combat abilities? Historically, only Pagma could achieve that. Could that man be a descendant of Pagma? This is getting more interesting. I actually have the opportunity to collaborate with a descendant of Pagma. But what Rabbit didn't expect was, Stalin not only executed the two main culprits, he also sentenced himself to 10 years in prison. Although he saved his own life, Rabbit is very frustrated. He can no longer fulfill the promise made to Grid. He assured that the incident would come to an end. Winston Village once again welcomes peace. The events involving Grid and Mina are also passed down as stories in Winston Village. Not only that, Eileen, who had a brief encounter with Grid in the past, became the new Lord of Winston. Because her true identity is the biological daughter of Earl Sterling. Meanwhile, the opening of the second job attracted widespread media attention. As a game with 2 billion global players, any major move can shake all the players. The benefits of the second job are not only reflected in skills and weapons. Every level up gives you double the base attribute bonuses compared to others. Grid stared at the TV out of boredom. He kept cursing inwardly. Which guy became the first dual-class player, anyway? Damn it. With the friendlier way to make money by crafting equipment, Grid solemnly declared that he would no longer take temporary jobs. However, this decision met with opposition from the whole family. You've been playing games all the time. When will you pay off your debts? Do you plan to live off others until you die? Unable to resist, Grid had no choice but to accept the arrangement for temporary work. On the way home from work, Master Go couldn't help but think of Khan and the butler. With these two NPCs' help, making money would be a breeze. As long as I can take out real money, even my own parents can't stop me from playing games. This is a story about helping people overcome internet addiction. Grid, this old donkey, was long ready to die in the game. But damn it, he has no donkey power left. Inside the blacksmith shop, Grid rushed in here as soon as he logged on. Is Rabbit here? When will what we talked about yesterday begin? Upon hearing this, Khan immediately handed over a letter. This was written by Rabbit, who is in prison. Dear Mr. Grid, due to my mistakes in the Marrow Trading Group, we can no longer realize our plan. I wish you could achieve fame on this continent soon. Upon learning that the other party would be in prison for 10 years, Grid was so furious that he almost quit the game on the spot. It was hard to find a mentor. And that bastard actually locked me up. Seeing Grid so heartbroken and angry, Khan smiled and began to comfort me, saying that I was getting old. From now on, I wouldn't have the energy to continue managing the blacksmith shop. So, I want to pass the blacksmith shop on to you to inherit. Grid was stunned in place after hearing this. He had never heard of a player inheriting an NPC's business. However, if you could write me a transfer agreement, I might just agree. As both parties signed the transfer contract, there was indeed a system prompt that said you have become the heir of the blacksmith shop. I can't believe it. I actually own my first shop in the game. Starting today, please call me Boss Go. Within the auction house, Basic Cards are still desperately searching the auction list. He needs to find the blacksmith who forged the Yafa sword. But ever since the sale of the 99 swordsman volunteer, that blacksmith seems to have vanished from the scene. There are no clues about the mysterious blacksmith on the leaderboard either. The Union Patrol chat has started. The Basic Card shouted at her subordinates. By the end of this month, if you haven't found that blacksmith, you can all wait for my devil training. At that moment, the late Dantina came online. I saw something interesting online. A blacksmith competition was held in Winston Village. One of the contestants actually forged an epic weapon within 3 hours. That efficiency surpasses even the top-ranked Panmir. He could very well be the person we're looking for. Now Uncle Jisker is all fired up. Everyone, gather in Winston. Whoever's the last to arrive will drink my foot bath water. At the same time, the ground of the level 200 advanced leveling dungeon is filled with fresh little gagas. You have eliminated the Forerunner. Experience gain, 617,000. As a special class of Blood Warrior, he can absorb the blood essence of monsters for his own use. He is Gandhi's best choice. At this moment, Cass is already level 216. Overall ranking, 40th. With ample spending resources and a constant drive to succeed, Kaz has put in a staggering 200% effort. But why is he still so far from first place? He can't wait any longer, even if it means consuming countless high-level health potions. And with his gloves being only level 1 gear, he will force his way to conquer the final boss. But looking at the black wind iron gauntlets and the copper armor in hand, Xiao Gaga couldn't help but grit his teeth. A bunch of useless blacksmiths at the auction house. Why are the equipment they forged so trash? No matter how much money I have, I can't spend it on this crap. Don't you understand the struggles of a paying player? A month later, Count Starling's territory, the capital Mina, also fell into the same troubles. I can't find any suitable jewel crafting scrolls at the auction house. I have money in hand, but I can't buy high-level gear. Recently, I earned 6,500 gold coins from doing quests. And now I haven't spent a single coin. Suddenly, a cold sensation came from the front. Who's following me? Come out right now. Don't make me take action myself. Upon closer inspection, a transparent figure is hiding behind the stone pillar. The newcomer is the Flash from the Justice League. He is also ranked number 1 on the Assassin leaderboard. After receiving the notice from the President, the members of the Justice League have all gathered in Count Stylenberg's territory. As the advanced team, their task is to monitor the legendary blacksmith known as Elena. But how can a blacksmith, with just his profession, see through his own level 7 invisibility technique? Before Zygotta could continue thinking, Mina had already raised her hand. Do you really think I have a good temper? The light from the letters instantly enveloped the front. The entire second floor was engulfed in an explosion. Fick and his team hurriedly landed. Before he could open his mouth to explain, Mina unleashed her ultimate move again. The Wail of the Angel was activated. This is a high-level skill of the sorcerer. The immense power is simply unbearable for fragile assassins. In an instant, the little guys were bleeding from their 7 orifices. They fell into a state of severe injury. Until this moment, little Gagag realized that he might not be the blacksmith the guild leader is looking for. It's even possible that this is a trap. The epic Yafa sword is just bait. To eliminate them. A fishing operation by the Justice League. End of imagination. Little Gagata angrily shouted at Mina. Who sent you? Which guild are you from? This question left Mina completely confused. Surveillance on my kid, damn it. Are you seeing things? Everyone can go to hell. Unleash Thunderbolt. The dazzling lightning strikes wildly. But the next moment, Fike's figure gradually disappears. Teleportation. In an instant, Fike appears behind Mina. He delivers a powerful kick. Mina is sent staggering backward. This is the first time Mina has encountered such a strong player. Multiple clones activated. Dozens of flyers charge down from midair. All the schemes and tricks, in the face of absolute power, are nothing but fragile illusions. But Mina didn't pay attention. A golden glow started to gather. Group fights are what he's best at. Having lost all his clones, Fike could only fall back to where he started. Before he could unleash his next skill, Mina had already summoned a massive Queen Knight. This is just ridiculous. It's one thing for a blacksmith to have mage skills, but to be able to use a summoning ultimate is outrageous. The howling wind reached his ears. The Queen Knight had already launched an attack. Fike hurriedly ran back. The attack range is too large. Even relying on stealth skills, it doesn't mean he can get close. Damn it, this girl isn't going all out, is she? He seized the opportunity to throw 3 flying darts. They flew straight towards Mina. At this distance, the mage's skills are already too late. Let's see how you deal with this. Who would have thought that in the next second, Mina also split into 5. She perfectly dodged the attack of the darts. This scene once again left Fike dumbfounded. Not hiding it at all. Aren't you afraid of getting banned? At this moment, Mina shows a confident smile. In a month's time, he has stored dozens of advanced skills once again. Now he can be said to be invincible. With a loud crash, he and the Knight of the King strike again. At this moment, the little ones also gathered around. Let's go together. You're not even a match for me. But no matter how many people come, they still can't get close to Mina. This summoner, the minions of the Earth Dragon attack. In the shocked gazes of all the little Gagas, countless huge fireballs come rushing in. With the cooperation of the Queen's Knight, all 4 high-level assassins fell to the ground. This is outrageous. 1 against 4, and she's still handling it effortlessly. Who exactly is this woman? Before the flyer could get up, another fireball fell from the sky. He crashed heavily onto the ground. Amidst the intense sound of explosions, Faye's figure completely vanished. When the battle ended, the members of the Justice League finally arrived at the scene. Looking at the uneven ground, Rao Shirji Shuka was stunned in place. Who exactly is he? What is his real purpose? Jishuka clenched his fists in anger. Find him and the forces behind him immediately. I want him to know what the Justice League is all about. At Khan's blacksmith shop, Grid tirelessly swung the hammer in his hand. After a month of experimentation, he discovered that there are 2 conditions for crafting advanced equipment. The most fundamental aspect is using good manufacturing materials. Next is the attributes of the blacksmith himself. Besides dexterity, stamina and strength are also very important. With the enhancement of 8 rods, Grid has already upgraded his professional skills by 2 levels. At this point, he will receive a reward of 2 points for all attributes when crafting rare equipment. Crafting epic equipment will reward him with 4 points. The full attribute unique level is 12 points. The average manufacturing time for each piece of equipment is about 6 hours. Although he has crafted 73 pieces of equipment, only 3 of them are epic grade. This success rate doesn't even compare to legendary blacksmiths. Looking at the newly added equipment blueprints in the catalog, Grid suddenly thought of a woman named Mina. Why hasn't that guy come to find him yet? It's only a waste of 6 hours to obtain the unique gems crafting method and materials. This deal is worth it. But thinking about his own lack of skill, Grid couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. If he were to make a regular piece of equipment, would that girl just eat him on the spot? Suddenly, 2 little birds pushed the door open. He opened his mouth to ask about Mina. However, Grid found this arrogant attitude very displeasing. No one can act tough in front of me. Who are you anyway? Just as the 2 were about to clash, another little guy stepped forward. Don't be too nervous. Fike was attacked, but it wasn't them who did it. Could you tell me any news about that, Elena? Kane didn't hide anything from them. He told them everything he knew. Right after the 2 left, Greed welcomed another guest. Having a blacksmith shop as a front was much more convenient than sending things to an auction house or setting up a personal stall. It wouldn't take long. I could become a wealthy person. The premise is that the dog plans to become a person. He needs to improve the drop rate for me. $7,600 a month. Do you want to take on this kind of grinding job? 73 pieces of equipment. Only 3 are epic quality. The absurdly low drop rate has made Grid's mindset explode. He immediately sent an email to the game company. It was filled with tens of thousands of words. All of it was a complaint about the game developer's unprofessionalism. But the customer service was also helpless. There was nothing wrong with the game data. After the blacksmith skill was upgraded, the drop rate did indeed increase compared to before. But it couldn't stop some people from being incredibly unlucky. Looking at the net profit of $7,600 earned over the past month, Grid couldn't help but sigh. Even temp workers earn more than this. How is he supposed to negotiate with his parents? But if he wants to make some money, he could just sell the only short sword he made. Yet Grid is a bit reluctant. After all, it's a weapon with 100% proficiency. Suddenly, a flyer flew right onto his face. A 30% discount at a premium gaming lounge. Isn't this exactly the place Grid needs? Gaming at an internet cafe by day, and at home by night. Damn, just thinking about it makes him excited. Grid rushed towards the gaming hotel at 300 meters per second. This will be the very place where he rises to the top. At this time, the Khan blacksmith shop is bustling with activity. After this period of operation, more and more players have come to know that the equipment attributes here are better than those in other places. Although it may be a bit more expensive, the cost effectiveness still surpasses that of the auction house. Khan, however, feels very helpless. He turns to look inside the shop, where Grid is fervently swinging a hammer while wearing a short-sleeved shirt, but relying solely on him. The output cannot meet market demand. Since he cannot satisfy the low-end market, Grid turned his attention to the high-end. With the advantage of internet cafes, Grid's daily online time reached 15 hours. Only then could he have the energy to create more refined equipment. The last component is complete. Grid nervously set it up. This equipment was made from materials he purchased at a huge cost. Plus he worked for 20 hours straight. It has to be legendary. At the very least, it should be unique. Otherwise, the developers aren't human. It just started to flicker. Clearly, the game developers heard Grid's curse. Epic level defense 303. Movement speed decreased by 6%. There is a very low chance to completely defend against piercing attacks. Looking at the equipment attributes, Grid almost went insane. Damn it, ever since he forged a unique level short sword, Grid hasn't crafted any high-level equipment. Even the monkey's luck is better than his. Seeing his dejected expression, Khan quickly comforted him. This thing could fetch a good price at the auction house. You'd more than cover your costs. It wasn't until this moment that Grid finally realized. He had the aura and skills of a blacksmith, boosting all equipment attributes by 20%. There are also special items, although they aren't top tier. But the level 180 Knight's outfit is more than enough. Speaking of which, Grid smiled again. Anyway, the auction house doesn't charge a fee. It's settled then. 2 days later, Grid set off for Winston Auction House with Khan's air symbol. This is a paradise for knights and blacksmiths. Not only is there an auction exclusive to knights, but blacksmiths chosen by Sterling can also become exclusive to the Earl's mansion. The treatment of blacksmiths is almost the same as that of civil servants. That is, if the game doesn't shut down. Arriving at the auction house entrance, Grid submitted the epic chest plate and epic iron gloves as required. But he was troubled by the pricing. He had no idea about the market prices. At that moment, a blacksmith named Little Gaga arrived in front of the mirror. Is this your first time at the auction? Is there anything I can help you with? As soon as he finished speaking, Little Gaga shared his task. This is a guide task prepared for newcomers to the auction. You need to put your master's equipment up for auction. Saying this, Little Gaga took out the master's weapon with admiration all over his face. A rare long sword of level 190. Just a rare level and he's so proud. I think even epic items are trash. Upon hearing this, Little Gaga looked at Grid with even more admiration. Can I take a look at your items? But Grid had no interest in this little brat at all. Hurry up and tell me the minimum price for winning a level 120 prize. The little boy sighed. He slowly said, for a normal level, it's usually 300 gold coins. Even the worst gloves at the epic level are worth 600. Armor is at least 1,800. Converted to cash. Damn, that's 17,000 bucks. After deducting material and internet fees, the net income is also 12,000. Grid's smile gradually becomes distorted. At this rate, it won't be long before I can pay off my debts. Just as the auction was nearing its end, Grid finally submitted the auction information. Knights, please pay attention. Another piece of equipment has just been listed. I don't know how much time has passed. Grid awakens from his slumber. The auction has ended. A total of 110 pieces of equipment participated in the auction. Only 6 pieces were successfully sold. The necklace of Colaris. 453 gold for the common Steinfeld. 1,900 gold coins. The last item. Speaking of which, the staff paused for a moment. Lord Grid, the administrator wants to meet with you privately. Please follow me. Although it's somewhat inexplicable, Grid followed the auctioneer into the room. At such a young age, he has such exquisite crafting skills. You must be the newly emerged blacksmith from Khan's forge. At this point, he glanced at Grid, who was drinking coffee. Then, he calmly announced his price. I offer 5,500 gold coins for your equipment. Additionally, I need to procure more to outfit every soldier in the gear you've crafted. When Ching said this, Grid's eyes widened in disbelief. He was completely stunned. The coffee he had just taken a sip of dribbled down the corner of his mouth. 5,500 gold coins are equivalent to 40,000 in cash. It would take a temp worker 73 days to earn that much money. What he's selling isn't equipment at all. It's my life. But Grid calmed down. If he accepts the administrator's task, he'll have to spend all his time making armor. And the armor-making process is the most tedious. Grid grinned as he spoke of his predicament. You know the blacksmith shop is too busy. Before Grid finished speaking, the administrator waved his hand, agreeing to pay an extra 10% for each piece of equipment. As long as the quality is not worse than today's, we'll take them all. In the end, Grid couldn't resist the temptation, and accepted the A-rank chain quest to produce 3 epic long swords within a week. It's no wonder he did. Betting your life. Turn a monthly salary of 12,000 into a daily salary of 40,000. You'd be trembling too. With a probability of 2 epic items from 3 pieces of equipment, Grid is confident he can pay off all his loans within a month. Embracing a brand new life. Creating success. Receiving a standard longsword. Although this longsword can be worth 800 gold coins, the material cost alone is 950. I lost 5,900 in total. Crafting successful. I obtained a regular longsword. Grid was about to kneel down to the game operators. What are you guys playing me for? Do you believe I'll report you to 315? Swinging the hammer again. Obtained a rare level longsword. In an instant, the food in Grid's mouth lost its taste. He no longer looked forward to his new life. Success in crafting. Obtained a normal level longsword. This time, Grid was completely driven mad. Each time, the compensation was 150. Even the landlord must cry when he arrives. After a whole week, Grid finally obtained 2 epic level items, 1 rare level item, and 3 normal level items. He just needs 1 last item to complete the quest. Grid worked even harder at the task. At this moment, he seemed to have returned to the fear dominated by the abyss. It's 105 hours late for delivery. You have to do it like this too. On the other side, to eliminate the Temple of Atlantis, Count Winston organized several encirclements. Although the front lines are quite optimistic, the northern front has fallen into a stalemate. At this moment, the woman has appeared. The Blood Witch, Eula. She is a player from the Aten Temple. To complete the SS level mission, Eula is fully prepared. After experiencing the pressure from epic players, Eula is even more determined to become stronger. She wants to be the god of this game. Become the first among 2 billion players. As Eula enters the battlefield, Count Winston's army faces a devastating blow. Inside Winston City, hearing the casualty reports from his subordinates, Ailing grits his teeth in anger. Since Midu's sacrifice, there has been a severe lack of top-tier combat power on one side. Eileen slammed down on the throne to regroup the troops. Give me a full-on attack. At this moment, Grid had long lost the glory of a legendary blacksmith. What kind of ridiculous odds? Do not work on me at all. He numbly used the tongs to complete the last step. If I fail again, he ran out of money to buy materials. He could only give up his civil servant status. He chose to lie flat once again. With the light from the sword and its sheath, the entire room was illuminated. The goddess of fortune always pays a visit at the last moment. Above the blacksmith's shop, thunder began to gather like a great vehicle refining its tribulation. A thick bolt of purple lightning struck down fiercely. Grid used all his strength. He held on to the long sword tightly. What on earth is happening? Even the unique equipment crafted back then didn't make such a crazy noise. When the lightning calmed down, a shimmering golden long sword appeared before Grid. The long sword was lost in a state of oblivion. Attack power, 356. Attack speed plus 6%. Accuracy plus 10%. Each attack deals damage equal to the opponent's level plus 200. Skill acquired, Realm of Selflessness. Rank, Legendary. Congratulations, you have crafted a legendary item. Attributes permanently increased by 25. Reputation increased, becoming the only legendary equipment forger with a title. Grid was overwhelmed by a series of prompts. Meanwhile, Khan was so excited that he fainted. But up until this moment, Grid still had a question in his mind. Did I actually complete the quest? Once the legendary equipment appeared, the world changed color. Since then, Grid's legendary blacksmith profession has truly earned its name. Meanwhile, Winston's second attack on the Titan Temple still ended in failure. With the 7 great powers, Winston's elite combat forces had no chance to resist. Just as Eileen was worried, she discovered Grid fishing for turtles in the wishing pool. Spend wisely, save wisely. Master Go, who earns over 10,000 a day, still upholds a good disposition. At this moment, the door opened. The official reported on Grid's remarkable achievement. I believe he is the key figure for us to overcome the Asia-Pacific Sanctuary. You should meet him. Inside the chamber, Grid looked helplessly at the Lord on the throne. He has to kneel to the NPC. If he doesn't give some extra rewards, it's unacceptable. The developers are being unreasonable. At this moment, the administrator also opened it without hesitation. A long sword exuding immense power appeared before everyone. This is the might of a legendary weapon. It's simply terrifying. I don't know how much you're planning to spend on this. We agreed on this last time. The higher the quality of the equipment, the higher the price. Ignoring Grid's bargaining, Eileen's gaze remained fixed on the long sword for a long time. Count Finus, if you choose to use this long sword, can you defeat the 7 great envoys? Little Gaga nodded seriously. In that case, Eileen stood up and slowly walked towards Grid. We'll take this long sword. Please take care of us in the future, Lord Grid. Looking at her delicate white hands, Grid was stunned for a moment. Then he hurriedly kissed her. Damn, he would have to reward himself again tonight. Back at the auction house's executive department, waiting for Grid to speak, a price of 220,000 gold coins was announced, which he couldn't refuse. As soon as that number came out, Grid was once again stunned in place. 220,000? That's not 22 bucks. Grid's head instantly buzzed incessantly. He seemed to have lost his soul. He couldn't even hear what the administrator said next. He began to slam his head hard against the wall. 220,000 converted to cash is 1.56 million. Pay off the debt and still have enough for a down payment. I've been unlucky for 26 years. Is this the moment we've been waiting for? Grid suddenly turned his head. It's a deal. It's the agreed price. The administrator took out a box. It's 3 extra pieces of blue orichalcum for you, sir. These are the materials used when the failed products were crafted. This is quite a fun thing. Before Grid continues to enjoy himself, a task completion notification popped up. 3 long swords are priced at 234,000. You have obtained the title of Winston Noble. Within the territory of Winston, you will gain tax exemption eligibility. The goddess of fortune has arrived. It really can't be stopped. Grid was filled with excitement. As he exited the game, the first legendary equipment has been revealed, which will attract a large number of players. In the future, it might be driven up to tens of millions. And I, possessing the crafting skills, will be a coveted figure in the eyes of 2 billion players. From now on, no more online lone expert Grid. What remains is a legendary blacksmith with billions in wealth. But when Grid returned home, he realized that 26 years of bad luck had not ended. Instead, it had just taken on a new form. Because his father had guaranteed someone else's debt, the guarantee amount was a staggering 4.8 million. What he earned today was just a fraction of that. Just when the family was in despair, Grid stepped forward. Don't worry. I will pay back this money. After all these years, I haven't done much for the family. Now is the time for me, the eldest son, to step up. Inside the Lord's castle, Eileen bestowed the sword of self-forgetfulness upon Count Finus. The third assault on the Temple of Yatin officially begins. This battle is different from the past. It will consist of 12 knights and 1,500 elite soldiers. Count Finus will lead the charge personally. The aim is to raise the Temple of Yatin to the ground. As one of the 7 great powers, Eula is actually unwilling to associate with these evil beings. But to complete the SS-level chain mission, he had no choice but to give it his all. Seeing the fully armed army, Uragami Cemetery began gathering dark magic. As the dark orb kept growing, it seemed like the whole world was shrouded in darkness. Charging complete. Dark storm unleashed. A dark light shot up into the sky. Just this one strike might be enough to eliminate a quarter of the little Gagas. In the next moment, a shocking scene unfolded before Eula. Phineas charged forward, braving the storm. Eula barely had time to activate the diamond barrier. The brilliant long sword came slashing down. The sound of clashing rang incessantly. The realm of forgetfulness is activated. A massive cracking sound reverberates throughout the area. Eula's strongest defensive skill couldn't hold for even 0.5 seconds. This is impossible. Watching the approaching sword's blade, Eula once again casts a skill in an instant. Abyss descends. This skill can terrify a single target. It's Eula's last resort. The restless neighing of the warhorse. But Count Finus is completely unaffected. What Eula doesn't know is that the state of forgetfulness can double attributes in 2 minutes. It can also resist all abnormal statuses. Looking at the long sword of the subtitles, Eula is filled with a sense of helplessness. The last time I felt this way was during the last time, when I saw Eula's unwilling expression. The sword's edge charged forward and struck Eula down to almost no health. Am I really going to fall into darkness? 17 days ago, at the moment my faith in the Eden Temple reached 10,000. Yura has gained a new ability, activated by going dark. Absolute darkness dominated her radiant face. An unsettling aura exploded from Yura's body, making everyone uneasy. Looking at Grid's bank account balance, the whole family was shocked. Kid, did you sell your kidney? Or maybe you cut out your liver? At this moment, Grid was extremely furious. Although Winston had exempted him from taxes, he was charged a fee of 79,200 when he withdrew. The gaming company is practically robbing him. After a friendly discussion with his family, Grig finally gained his parents' support. Even if he accounted for all this money, the remaining over 3 million is something an ordinary employee's parents cannot afford. Don't worry. Leave everything to me. I swear on my 8 sticks. I'll finish all the legendary blacksmith tasks within a month. Grid, back in the game, is full of energy. Currently, he only has 20,000 game coins left. He used the rest to pay off his debts. He must. This money should be spent wisely. If we focus on crafting high-level gear, we might end up losing money. Just as he was about to use all the money to craft level 140 equipment, he heard the discussions from the side. Oh no, the Sea God Temple's expedition has failed again. Count Phineas is seriously injured. The 7 major powers are indeed incredibly strong. Upon hearing this, Grid opened his attribute panel. To be honest, even though his level was only 45, his attribute values were definitely at a bug-level existence in the game. As long as he equipped the right gear, he could face a boss at level 100. Grid was capable of fighting back. However, thinking back to those years of grinding monsters, Grid returned to the blacksmith's shop once again. He continued swinging his familiar blacksmith's hammer. Seeing this scene, Khan couldn't help but cover his forehead. For a blacksmith, the forging hammer is like a second lifeline. Yet the hammer Grid was using was only of rare grade. It could only increase the chance of making rare equipment by 10%. This is of no use at all to a legendary blacksmith. It's completely worthless. The nameless craftsman's hammer increases the probability of rare equipment by 17%. It increases the probability of epic equipment by 7%. Holding the star iron hammer gifted by Cain, Grid trembled instantly. Damn, if I had this good thing, why didn't I take it out earlier? You're not treating me like your own grandson. Upon hearing this, Cain awkwardly scratched his face. Today is the anniversary of my son's death. Can you come with me to the cemetery? Looking at the towering tombstones, Grid couldn't help but show a hint of sadness. Lost in playing games, he had no friends in reality. Khan was also the first to acknowledge his NPC. Looking at his son's gravestone, Khan couldn't help but reach out to touch it. His son had passed away from illness 10 years ago, a parent mourning a child. In these 10 years, Khan could only numb himself with alcohol. Listening to Khan stop talking about recent events, Grid could no longer hide the sadness in his eyes. How the hell can an NPC be so emotional? This game is just too damn real. Don't worry. Your father is my father. From now on, I'll take care of him. As soon as the words were out, the tombstone suddenly emitted a blinding light. Your relationship with Khan has been further solidified. All the tombstones resonated at this moment. To thank you for your kindness towards Khan, the ancestral spirits of Khan appeared. Looking at dozens of transparent figures, Grid almost exited the game on the spot. I don't want to play anymore. My curtain has a hole. Esteemed descendant of Pagmer, to thank you for your assistance to our descendants, please go to the backside of the West Mountain Gorge where the sword dance of Pagmer is depicted. At that moment, the system prompt displayed an updated task. The class change task has been triggered. Please find clues related to Pagmer in the West Mountain Gorge south of Winston. It's been so long, Grid nearly forgot that he still had a job change quest to complete. That painting will help you inherit the sword dance. I hope you can become an existence beyond Pagma. Amid countless transparent souls, a young man's figure suddenly appears. I'm counting on you, Dad. After seeing Grid solemnly nod his head, the young souls gradually dissipate into the air. A gentle breeze brushes by. The sleeping Khan awakens from his dreams. He senses the movement behind him. Grid turns and smiles slightly. Khan, I will help you in your old age. At this moment, Grid appears very cheerful. He shows no fear after encountering the ghost. Of course, that's assuming you can ignore the damn hot crotch. This guy might be the first to wet his pants while playing VR. But the curtain hole. Who could put up with that? In front of the blacksmith's door, Huroy hesitated whether to go in. After completing the duel profession quest, he went to the hospital for a week of observation and treatment at the suggestion of the game company. Until this moment, he finally had time to meet his benefactor. Suddenly, the door opened to reveal Grid himself. Hulroy excitedly knelt on the ground. My lord, your servant has come. Grid was immediately stunned in place. He immediately grabbed Shao Gaga fiercely. It's you, kid. You made me team up with that crazy woman. Do you know what I've been through during this time? Huluai was sweating profusely. He quickly bowed his head to admit his mistake. Forget it, you can go now. I forgive you. Grid waved his hand immediately. He was about to walk away, but Hiroi wasn't having it. Since I have acknowledged you as my lord, from now on, I am your person. As long as I can follow you, I'm willing to do anything. Hearing this, Grid almost fell into darkness. I'm really busy. I don't have time to play your games. In the woods outside Winston, Hyuno watched Grid walk silently ahead. along with his unbelievable bad luck. He couldn't help but cover his mouth in sympathy. This man is just too unlucky. I will do everything I can to protect him. The corpses scattered throughout the northern border of the Aten Temple signify Winston's defeat. And the one responsible for all this, Yua, smoothly becomes the 8th fallen. The complete dark sorcerer is thus born. From this point on, the Aten cult rapidly develops. The minimum requirement for new followers has also risen significantly. It has increased from level 160 to level 170. In order to combat the cultists, dozens of countries formed an alliance. They issued a crusade quest to countless players of the forces of justice. The deceased and Count Sterling himself also joined the battle. Thus began the epic battle between the coalition and the cult of Aten. This was a war that could reshape the game's landscape. Since the game was completely freeform, even the game company didn't know the story's outcome. But one thing was certain. The appearance of the 8th deceased is the true culprit behind the war. The 5th in rank, Eula, has also become the focus of all powers. The mission is to hunt down 25 members of the Aten cult. Grid sighed. He directly closed the mission panel. No matter how lively it got outside, it had nothing to do with Grid. He was just a blacksmith repaying his father's debt. He looked at the armor displayed by the window. Although it took 10 days to complete a full set of rare and epic gear, he still couldn't get through the West Mountain Canyon. It's one of the most treacherous areas in the northern region. The lowest level monsters there are all above level 160. Why is the job change quest placed there? Grid helplessly rubbed his head. In the distance, Herloy, who was silently watching, showed a pained expression again. If only he had offered to help. Will the Lord get angry? I can't care about the guitar. Grid keeps thinking about how to get through the canyon. If he follows the normal game route, he would need to level up to at least level 150 to complete the quest. Suddenly, Grid has a flash of inspiration. I am a legendary blacksmith. Looking at his character status, Grid nearly slapped himself. Why did I forget this skill? Since the normal method won't work. Don't blame me for cheating. Looking at the 5 remaining creation opportunities on the panel, Grid pondered, stroking his chin. To let this level 45 guy defeat a group of level 160 monsters, he at least needs to wear a complete set of equipment at the same level as the Sword of Forgetfulness. But how can I create legendary equipment? Grid clutched his head. He lowered his head. He looked at the ants taking a detour. He finally had an inspiration. Why do I have to fight? As long as I can reach the painting, isn't that enough? For example, I could play it safe. If you want to create equipment with stealth effects, you must use silver dragon scales as the material. However, this material is not something humans can forge. According to Khan's description, the most famous stealth equipment was made by the legendary tailor 200 years ago. Cruz's stealth cloak was made from fabric and silver scales. It already falls into the realm of the tailor. Having learned the reason, Grid hesitantly returned to the room. What kind of equipment do you want to create? After entering the cloak and the scales of the siren, Grid waited silently for the system's feedback. If the blacksmith cannot use fabric items to craft equipment, the system will definitely reject the request. Please enter the blueprint. Looking at the familiar drawing panel, Grid was overjoyed. After drawing a hoodie, it's time to input the equipment features. With the experience from last time, Grid only entered the main requirement. Wearing it can make you completely invisible. Then, he clicked confirm in sequence. The system began to refine the equipment. After a brief alert, a design blueprint of a hoodie appeared in Grid's hands. Level 1. Movement speed increased by 30%. Wearing it grants invisibility. When attacking, invisibility will remove wind attribute. Resistance increased by 20%. No usage conditions. However, crafting requires 20 Hilfer scales. This design perfectly meets Grid's needs. It even adds extra ceiling. Now we just need to find 20 silver scales. Upon learning of Grid's request, Khan almost burst out laughing. How can you catch something you can't see? This is a disaster. My design will be for nothing. Before Grid faints in the bathroom, Khan quickly waved his hand. Although it's impossible to capture silver alive, we can go to the northern snowy plains to search for the 2-colored orcs. Those guys can find silver by scent, and they will treat silver scales as treasures and hide them in their caves. Upon hearing this, Grid instantly regained his fighting spirit. As long as he could craft warm armor, he could head to the northern snowy plains to search for the 2-colored orcs. Moreover, with the boost from the epic blacksmith's hammer, he could at least create a whole set of rare level cold-resistant gear. 20 hours later, looking at the ordinary level brown bear worn clothing, Grid offered a kind greeting to the ancestors of the planner. Used the highest grade materials. Spent 20 hours. Even used an epic level blacksmith hammer, but only made a common grade item. The probability is just really messed up. 2 more days passed. Grid was finally ready to head to the northern snowy plains. A common grade warm hat, common grade warming cloak, rare grade warming gloves, and an epic grade brown bear pelt. As a blacksmith, the most important thing is your mindset. At least I have 1 piece of epic gear. That's already quite good. Grid forced a smile that looked worse than crying. At this moment, he was unaware that silver's scale drop rate was less than 1%. Rounding it up is nearly 0. Grid had arrived alone in the northern snowfield. It was covered in ice and snow all year round. The temperature was extremely low. For an average player, they would suffer from frostbite in just a few minutes. With 60% warmth retention, Grid is not afraid of the wind and snow at all. Looking at the orc tribe not far away, a slight smile appeared at the corner of Grid's mouth. Just a bunch of small gaga. Can they really pose a challenge for me? Grid calmly walked to the entrance of the tribe and saw humans approaching. The little ones chattered away. Grid grinned widely. A bunch of silly fools. They spoke so fast their tongues got tangled. He immediately took out his ideal short sword. Foolish orc. Come face death, all of you. In response, a swordsman shot towards him at high speed. Grid didn't even have time to react. The swordsman has already flown out, brushing against his cheek. Just a mere orc. Why? There are still ranged attack methods. Recalling Khan's words. These guys do not fear the cold. But they are afraid of flames. Moreover, they are stronger than ordinary orcs in terms of strength, size, and intelligence. We're done for. I thought we were here to fish. I didn't expect I would be the worst fish. In a panic, Grid activated rapid movement. In 1 minute, agility and evasion rates increased. A whooshing sound echoed around Grid. It was a distance of at least 10 meters. This guy is actually shooting so accurately in the strong wind. Stunned to the point of speechlessness. A furious roar came from ahead of Grid. The giant axe swung down fiercely. Grid quickly stepped back. The blade activated. The edge, equivalent to 60% of Grid's attack power, slashed towards the orc. With a loud thud, the short sword hits the target. The previous armored soldiers were taken down instantly. This guy definitely can't take it. As if in response to Grid, the axe wind pierces again. The air crashes down on him. Grid barely has time to raise the short sword. The axe has already come down. He stared intensely at the furious orc. His body kept sliding on the ice and snow. But his will was incredibly strong. I really underestimated him. Once again, I blocked the axe. Grid kicked out fiercely. Right now, I can only fight desperately. The blacksmith's rage was unleashed. Increases attack power and attack speed for 20 seconds. The unique short sword makes a crackling sound. The blade strikes again. With a bonus from the status skill. This hit directly pierces the orc's chest. The opponent suffers 923 points of damage. You hit the vital spot. Listen to the orc scream. Grid finally felt relieved. But in the next second, the orc launched another attack. The giant axe struck Grid directly. You have taken 1005 points of damage. Grid gritted his teeth in anger. That last hit definitely landed a critical blow. It's just that this guy's recovery ability is too strong. There's no way to kill in one strike. The sound of slaughter rang out again. Grid and the orc completely gave up on defense. The ultimate life potion was successfully used. You have restored 1,500 health points. Both the human and the beast seem to have gone mad. They hacked at each other. Although Grid's attack power and health were not as high as his opponent's. But this guy won't stop. It has temporarily reached a stalemate. Guan swept again. Grid was sent flying. You have taken 929 damage. Your health is below 10%. There are 7 seconds left on the potion cooldown. In a one-on-one situation. To think that Grid, who wanted to fry fish, is going to drown in the fish pond. Life goes on. Drugs never stop. Thanks to the ultimate life potion. Just as the orc's attack is about to land on his head, Grid, unable to drink potions, has already given up resistance. At that moment, a rustling sound came from within Grid's body. You have triggered the passive of the Justice Bringer. Before dealing with the enemy in front of you. This title was obtained after helping Hyolo E. I didn't expect it to have this effect. The short sword begins to emit light again. All attribute values increased by 330%. Feeling the power surging within, Grid laughed and lunged forward. While the other little ones were anxiously waiting, a figure suddenly flew out. It was the defeated orc. Now he was completely dead. Gained 266,000 experience points. You have leveled up. At this moment, Grid truly experienced the thrill of leveling up in a dire situation. Damn, I'm here to fish for rewards. Facing the encirclement of several orcs, Gridus showed no fear. He charged forward with a dagger. The unyielding justice was unleashed. 3 days later, Huluo-E walked slowly across the snowfield. After consulting with Khan, he learned that the Lord had come here to gather materials. It's surprising that such a trivial matter would require the Lord to personally take action. Huluo-E stood with his hands behind his back. The whole person fell to the ground. Since the heart has already been given, faith naturally cannot be erased. Huluo checked his back. 50 Molotov cocktails should be enough. Along with the short sword and shield behind him. These pieces of equipment can only be used after he unlocked his second class. He wondered if these things could help his lord. Suddenly, the sound of an explosion echoed from not far away. Huluo didn't have time to think. He quickly rushed forward. My lord, you have to wait for me. When he arrived at the orc tribe, there were corpses of small Gada everywhere. This scene left Huluo stunned. A familiar voice suddenly came from beside me. Damn, I'm exhausted. The battle has officially ended for Dread. With just an ordinary short sword, he killed the entire orc tribe. Huluo's cheeks were flushed with excitement. He truly is my boss. Character status level 83. Health point 7,872. Looking at his attribute panel, Grid has completely surpassed his pre-class change combat power. He leveled up to this rank in just 3 days. This completely overturns the worldview of non-player character Grid. However, he immediately composed himself. He looked back at Hulroy. Why have you been following me? I'm here to help you. I didn't expect the lore to be so powerful. There's no need for me to intervene at all. Upon hearing this, Grid sighed. Although the upgrades are quite fast, after fighting orcs for 3 days, he only obtained 3 silver scales. He had to know he had killed about 100 orcs. The drop rate is just too ridiculous. Don't keep pestering me. I'm really not happy right now. Seeing Grid get angry, Huloi immediately explained the whole story. It lasted for 50 hours. You saved me from the dungeon. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to receive the second class reward. Looking at Huloi's naive and sweet appearance, Grid is even more furious. Damn it, why is the first dual class player you? I'm the one who worked hard to save people. If that's the case, Grid grabs Huluo-E by the collar. For a day, you're my dad. For life, you're my dad. From now on, you're my eldest son. I need to find 20 Hilford scale beasts in the cave. There should be more orcs. You go help me kill them. Before the two could continue speaking, the area suddenly went dark. A small Gaka, much larger than the other orcs, stood before Grid. This is the two-colored orc chief. He is also the final boss of the 140th instance dungeon here. This time, the father and son encountered a tough opponent. The giant axe swung down with a whooshing sound, smashing down on Grid and Hulois. The two panicked and ran chaotically towards the cave entrance. Damn it, why would the boss come out on its own? Could it be that there's a relative of his in the orc village? But at this speed of escape, it looks like both of them are done for here. If that's the case, Huloy's thought of a way to hold it off. I need to find a safe place to log off. I didn't expect that Huloy actually agreed. It's Brown Grid who is touched. Huloy's running speed actually exceeded his. Don't panic, my lord. My title is partner of the Justice Envoy. Fighting alongside you will boost both our stats by 30%. And I'm already level 138 now. As long as you help. Killing it is not a problem. Speaking of Huloy's performance in the cell, Grid temporarily believed him. Let me be clear up front. Base is coming for me. So all the rewards belong to me. Naturally, Huloy nodded meaninglessly. Team formation successful. Equipment allocation settings are managed by the captain. Until this moment, Huloy finally realized that Grid was level 83. How could he defeat a group of monsters at level 140? Ancient Lord, how did you do it? Are you a hidden epic class player? Upon hearing this, Grid turned his head, full of helplessness. An epic player? What a joke. I'm the epic level dad. A legendary player. So you'd better just follow your dad. You'll benefit in the future. As he spoke, Grid ran to the flank. You are responsible for taking down the boss. The admiration that had just risen instantly plummeted. Am I recognizing a thief as my father? Huluo took a deep breath. A real man never regrets. I keep my word. Provocation skill activated. With Huluo's loud shout, the boss was instantly drawn over. Now's the time. My lord, please hurry up. Grid grinned widely. He finally experienced the joy of being a father. The blacksmith's anger deepened. The unyielding justice was unleashed. The dagger swept fiercely. The thick sword aura burst forth. The little ones were knocked back. This isn't over yet. The blade followed closely behind. This is Grid's deadly 3-hit combo annihilation technique. You have obtained 2 silver scales. You killed 11 of them to get 2. Violence has finally returned to normal. Right now, we just need to deal with the boss. But just as Grid turned around, the boss was already in front of him. Huloy stood there provocatively, looking helpless. Time has passed. I can't do anything about it. The crew gave a harsh critique. Grid was caught off guard. Did not fully evade. You took 104 damage. You took 97 damage. This damage only stunned Grid for a moment. He immediately launched a Wind Blade counterattack. And the Wind Blade without any buffs actually dealt damage to the boss. Is this the bonus from the messenger partner? Even so, the boss's knockback effect still prevents Grid from getting close. Because this is truly a level 140 boss. Can I really defeat it? At the moment fear arose in Grid's heart. A beam of holy light enveloped him. Legendary class. Never yield. In the next moment, Grid shouted. Now! Huno seized the opportunity and charged forward. The justice that cannot yield. The flash of the sword passed by. It struck the boss in the back, causing the leader to scream in agony. Grid also took the chance to leap up. Still the unyielding justice. The moment the dagger is drawn, the blade follows closely, directly shattering the boss. Push forward, Huluo. Let's go together. The two leap together. With excellent coordination, they strike the boss heavily again. Although this guy is a bit clingy, as a teammate, he's quite easy to work with. Suddenly, Xiao Gaga let out a furious roar, falling into a rage. If you watch closely, the two of them only broke the boss's helmet, and didn't cause any substantial damage at all, not giving them a chance to keep fighting. Xiao Gaga grips the axe with both hands, sweeping across. This strike covers a huge area, and its speed is unbelievably fast. Both of them are sent flying, before Greed can land. Xiao Gaga surprisingly follows up proactively. The giant axe sweeps across again. There's simply no chance to evade. Wade and Huloy both get injured and fall. You have taken 5,300 damage. With one blow, Grid is left with just a sliver of health. Huloy is even worse off. Although his level is higher, his health is actually lower than Grid's. If a single hit deals over 40% damage, the player may be stunned for 3 seconds. Grid also relies on his legendary class to tank hits. Otherwise, they would have to log off together to order takeout. Base roars and charges again. Jifu suddenly swings down. He aims to finish off Huluo. A loud bang echoes. The smoke and dust instantly obscured the view. I stayed until everything was calm. Huluo woke up from his faint. But the scene before him left him completely wide-eyed. He saw Grid endure a boss's attack with his own body. In this comic, I am the main character. Without my permission, no one can force you to order takeout. That's what was said. It almost made the two unable to be father and son. Under the effect of the immortality skill, Grid only has 1 drop of health left. Hurry up and give me some medicine. I must take down this little brat. Suddenly, whose eye glowed again. Little Gaga silently continued to recover. Huloy, however, didn't move at all, calmly waiting for the attack to come down. Just as the axe was about to make contact, Huloy resolutely turned his head. I recognize you as my father. Huloy stubbornly endured the boss's strike with sheer willpower. Gained an opportunity for Grid to drink the blood bottle. That makes sense. This guy should have a similar immortal skill. In the next second, Huluo pulled out a Molotov cocktail and threw it. These are specially prepared for the two colored orcs. As the Molotov cocktails kept flying out, intense flames instantly surrounded Xiaogaga. Great. The boss is in a stalemate. The two of them rushed forward together. The sword lights kept flashing, but Base remained completely still. Is this not working? Although his weakness is fire, we simply can't break through his defenses. Upon hearing this, Grid smiled confidently. Let me send him on his final journey. The short blade begins to gather power. However, at this moment, Huroy senses something unusual. But it's already too late. Before Grid's attack even lands, Base unexpectedly regains his movement. He kicks the defenseless Grid. This strike sends Grid back to a near-death state. The orc chieftain stepped on Grid with 1 foot. He took out a red magic sphere from his bosom. In the astonished gaze of Huluo, the magic sphere began to surge with power. With crackling sounds, its energy grew stronger. The orc chieftain suddenly raised the magic sphere. Red lightning suddenly gathered in the sky. A vast expanse of red enveloped the boss. This must be the chief's last resort. We have to find a way to stop him. At this moment, Grid has no way to break free from his restraints. He can only watch helplessly as the giant axe descends. Suddenly, boss stops his movements. He sensed the danger beside him. He saw Hulu raise his short sword high. A blinding light suddenly began to gather. I've never used this move before. Perfect timing to test it on you. As the power gathers more and more, Floyd's health bar completely disappears. For my lord, you should die. Accompanying the cold voice falling, there was also a brilliant flash of sword light. With a loud bang, the orc chieftain was completely surrounded by the sword light. What a strong attack. This move should be able to end the battle, right? But then something surprising happened. The orc chieftain let out only a mournful cry. His shaking steps suddenly steadied. Xuanjita roared and charged at Huluii again. At this moment, Huluii no longer has the strength to resist. I'll leave the rest to you, my lord. I will return to the fire point now. You will definitely be able to do it. As soon as the words left his mouth, the orc's axe had already fallen. With a loud crack, Huluii began to shatter completely. Your teammate is dead. He was completely obliterated under the orc's axe. Since you have come this far, for Hunoi, you might as well die. The blacksmith's fury is unleashed. Move quickly. Grit focuses intently on the charging orc. This strike must hit his vital point. And the real weakness is right here. The blade is unleashed. The blinding cooking pierced through the orc's chest. Seeing this attack's effect, Grid was stunned. Could it be that Hunoi's final strike lowered the opponent's defense? Before Grid could continue to think, a flicker of auxiliary light passes by. Grid is struck again. So close. Why isn't this guy dead yet? Grid, frustrated, locks behind him. I'm sorry. Floyd, I couldn't do it. Suddenly, hope shines in Grid's eyes. The Messenger of Justice. Effect triggered. All stats increased by 30%. Unyielding. The cooldown for justice is over. Grid's fighting spirit ignites once again. The unique level short sword thrusts upward sharply. The sword's edge slices from bottom to top. Time seemed to stand still at that moment. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The giant axe shattered with a resounding crack. The orc chief knelt motionless on the ground. Suddenly, his massive body collapsed to the ground. The battle was finally over. Congratulations, you have executed the two-colored orc chief. How strong could a level 140 dungeon boss be? With the cost of Huluoyi's death, Grid finally cleared the entire dungeon. This was his first time tackling a dungeon over level 100. Grid couldn't help but laugh wildly at the sky, looking at the loot on the table. Although he didn't gather 20 scales of the Hillfold, the rewards were indeed substantial. Only the level 1 set equipment, the two-colored orc chief's helmet and its set. You can achieve a set effect. Transform into the dual-colored orc chief. Unify the entire orc tribe. The Red Thunder summoning ball can enhance weapon attack power, and grant it lightning attributes, along with 2 blessed weapon enhancement stones and 3 blessed armor enhancement stones. As for beast skins, a low-level material, Grid no longer cares about them. He picked up the blessed enhancement stone and examined it carefully. This is the first time he has obtained this item. Generally, after a failed enhancement with a regular stone, the enhancement level will decrease by 3. But using this item will only decrease it by 1. So its price is also 12 times that of a regular enhancement stone. However, the enhancement stone is already worth 4,200 bucks. But he thought of the sacrifice of Huluoi. A flicker of guilt passed through Grid's heart. Then, shamelessly, he devoured all the rewards. What belongs to his son is naturally his. What belongs to him, of course, still belongs to him. Just then, Khan also walked in. He picked up the hide that Grid had discarded. This material is perfect for making armor linings. The materials caught Khan's interest. Grid waved his hand with an extraordinary demeanor. Since you like it, I'll just give it to you. You can make it into a piece of armor, and then send it back to me as a gift. This way, we both benefit. It's a win-win for both of us. Before Khan could regain his senses, Grid turned and went to the auction house. He directly purchased 10 ordinary enhancement stones. He spent 1,000 gold in one go. It was so extravagant that it made Grid's heart ache. But without stealth, he was afraid. He could only do his best to enhance his combat power. The West Mountain Valley is not easy to traverse. I just took down a boss that was over 140. I almost lost my life. There are even more terrifying beings there. Grid looked at the enhanced history in his hand. There is only one path to take now. That is to enhance the equipment. He immediately chose a secluded spot. He pulled out the ideal short sword. I used to hear people say that if you want to avoid quitting the game, you can't touch enhancements. Besides, that scamming old man still owes so much money. Since I've decided to take on the burden of repaying the debt, I must succeed in changing my class. So, Grid grips the short sword tightly. And my years of practicing this technique are finally coming in handy. Only strengthen household chores. Absolutely cannot go overboard. Start strengthening. Strengthening while in contact with weapons. Ideal short sword strengthening successful. Strengthening +1 successful. Strengthening +2. Strengthened all the way to +4 in one go. There hasn't been a single failure. Grid's smile gradually turned perverse. She enhanced House 5. Success looked at the enhanced House 5 short sword in hand. Grid couldn't help but lift the corners of his mouth. The attack power has significantly increased. The sword also began to emit a dazzling light. This game started from enhanced House 6. The probability of success will decrease exponentially. Grid certainly wouldn't be that foolish. 5 is the most cost-effective choice. But today has been so lucky. Why not try to enhance it? 61,000. Success. Grid hurriedly hit his head. He wanted to dismiss this crazy idea. But just once will do. At the auction house entrance, Grid suddenly rushed back. Give me 10 enhancement stones. Enhancement failed. Enhancement level decreased by 3. Enhancement increased by 3. Successful enhancement failure. Enhancement level reduced by 3. Used 12 enhancement stones, but ended up back at the starting point. At this moment, Grid's eyes turned bloodshot. Town Center Square. Grid stood quietly at the center holding a +6 weapon glowing with blue light, standing still at the spotlight. He ultimately spent 2,000 gold coins. Converted to cash, it's 14,000. Only then did I finally reach +6. I felt the envious gazes from the little ones. It was all worth it. At that moment, the real Cash King walked over. It was the bloodthirsty warrior Cats. Hey, is your +6 weapon really strong? I wonder if it can compare to my +8 longsword. A golden light instantly illuminated the entire scene. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Grid felt completely bored. So what if it's enhanced to +8? The joy from pay to win is only temporary. I'm a free-to-play player. Do you understand the significance of a free-to-play player owning a +6 weapon? Upon hearing this, Cats mockingly waved his hand and silently walked out of the crowd. Returning to the blacksmith shop, Grid worked even harder to forge equipment. Remembering Cats' taunts, Grid still held back and did not use the blessing enhancement stone. It only costs 14,000 to add 6. If you want to add 8, I don't know how much it will cost. I would never be that big spender. At that moment, Khan walked up. The armor made of beast skin is ready. You can take a look. He lifted the gray cloth that was covering it. What came into view was an epic piece of equipment. Defense increased by 359. Physical damage reduced by 20%. This is the best equipment I've made so far. I hope it can help you. Grid excitedly picked up the armor. A brilliant smile returned to his face. The unpleasantness brought by the poison dog was completely wiped away. In the West Deep Canyon, Grid arrived at the outskirts fully armed. The helmet of the two-colored orc chieftain, a masterpiece by Khan. Epic iron gloves. Rare level boots. This is the strongest gear he could present. Finally, there's also the +8 enhanced short sword. To be honest, the blessed enhancement stones are indeed useful. Grid continues deeper into the canyon. The terrain here is very treacherous. He cautiously walks along the edge of the cliff. For him, the most important thing right now is to complete the job change quest. Although the ideal short sword from Gabra is really cool. However, a level 180 weapon is definitely not comparable to the level 250 heady sword. More importantly, I can also obtain the sword dance of Pagmer. For a blacksmith with only 4 skills, adding a damage skill is a qualitative leap in combat power. Looking at the cave on the cliff, Grid bent down and began to dash forward to explore this place. He had already checked the strategy. I must avoid reckless battles. Suddenly, a level 162 canyon lizard appeared in front of Grid. It's impossible. I've been very careful to follow the route given in the strategy guide. Why am I still encountering low-level monsters attacking me? With a swish, the lizard's long tail shot out. Grid hurriedly dodged. Before he could react, the lizard's tail struck down repeatedly. Grid still chose to dodge. This is just too much. Do you really think I can't beat you? He brandished the short sword, shining brightly. The blacksmith's anger deepened. The blade skill shot out explosively. This strike made the lizard scream in agony. The opponent received 1,230 points of damage. As soon as this damage value appeared, Grid couldn't help but lower his head to look at the short sword in his hand. After enhancing the base attack power, the skill damage indeed increased significantly. In that case, Grid, take the initiative. Justice that cannot yield strikes. A steel fist slams down on the lizard. As the canyon lizard shatters, 329,000 experience points drop into my pocket, easily taking down a level 162 monster at level 85. No wonder that group of clowns is so arrogant. Suddenly, footsteps are heard overhead. A group of level 185 lizard men were drawn over by the sounds of battle. This is truly an unfortunate start. Another group of troublesome little gaggas has come. But this time, Grid did not choose to flee. He swung his ideal short sword at the lizard men. The harsh sound of metal clashing reached his ears. However, this strike he aimed for didn't even break through the opponent's defense. The lizard men are closing in. At this moment, running away is clearly impossible. You have taken 2,019 damage. You have taken 1,504 damage. Grid's body involuntarily falls backward. Without the armor made by Khan, these 2 hits would have reduced Grid's health to the minimum. 3 lizard men are right behind him. In the blink of an eye, Grid was surrounded. I must find a way to break free from the encirclement. The indomitable justice strikes. Grid slammed down hard on the shield. This strike sent the little Gagaga flying out. Then, after hitting 3 little Gagagas, the wind blades scattered. The opportunity has come. Move quickly. Grid took the opportunity to approach one of the small Gagas. With the boost of status skills, Grid's figure moved like a ghost. In an instant, he unleashed 6 attacks. Each strike was exceptionally precise. This level of skill is comparable to little dies. Following the pitiful cries of the small Gagas, Grid once again gained 948,000 experience points. Damn, it's finally over. I told you, you can't withstand the blacksmith's anger. But looking at my remaining health and mana, Grid quietly took out a health potion. The small monsters are whatever. If I just give it my all, I'll get through. As long as I don't get unlucky and encounter an elite monster, it should be fine. For example, the canyon spider. Just how unlucky can a noob get? Following a guide, walking the path others have taken, he can still encounter random monsters attacking. All of this is understandable. But what about the spider in front of him? Is that just a coincidence? Canyon spider level 188. It is the apex predator in the Shishan Gorge. Generally, it won't easily leave its nest. But Grid, for some reason, barged right in. Is this what they call side effects of the +8? With a loud bang, just shot towards Grid like a cannonball. How can he even fight now? To this guy, the lizard man is just a slightly tougher dessert. The thought of retreat just appeared. Grid shone with brilliance once again. A legendary player. Fearless. Blade activation. Grid boldly charged forward without fear of death. The opponent took 300 damage. Watching his calm output, Grid was stunned in place. At that moment, the roar echoed in his ears again. Once more, several threads shot out. Sensing the intensity of the attack, Grid understood in his heart. That as long as he got hit once. The death effect would be triggered. The blacksmith's anger deepens. The blade strikes again. The sharp sword energy soars into the sky. The opponent took 344 points of damage. The blacksmith's anger bonus only dealt 344. This defense is just ridiculous. Grid hurriedly creates distance. According to this strategy, I will eventually die under the web. The long-range attack is completely useless. Right now, all I can rely on is unyielding justice. But I can't get close at all. Suddenly, the desperate blacksmith has a bold idea. Since this is a game focused on freedom, I'll bet on a blade. The blade gathers strength again. Grid moved the short sword. He aimed in the direction. Before the blade was unleashed, he infused the unyielding justice into the short sword. In the next moment, the blade shot out, straight towards the spider monster's abdomen. In an instant, a violent explosion engulfed everything. The blinding light obscured Grid's vision. As the spider monster's scream echoed, Grid was taken aback. I can't believe it can really be used like this. You have successfully merged skills. You have gained a new skill, Wind of Justice. When your intelligence increases, Wind of Justice can deal 320% area damage to enemies within 6 meters. Damage radius 2 meters. Conditions for use were the ideal short line. Look at the skill introduction. Grid has completely submitted. This game really is very free. At this time, the spider monster has already suffered serious injuries. Its entire body is toppled over the cliff. Suddenly, it roared and struggled violently. Grid disregarded everything else, and quickly jumped up. The effect of the iron gloves was triggered at that moment. He could strike the opponent twice in an instant. Grid shouted and lunged forward. He attacked twice in quick succession, landing all blows on the spider's abdomen. In an instant, dust flew everywhere. The cliff is engulfed in a huge cloud of dust. After finishing all of this, Grid squats on the ground. He breathes heavily. In front of him, the spider monster finally starts to crumble. Congratulations, you have defeated the canyon spider. You have gained 387,500 experience points. Upon leveling up, Grid bursts into laughter. Is this the correct way to experience immersive gaming? On a nearby mountaintop, a little creature is quietly watching all of this. Although this guy seems a bit dull, he can handle the spiders in the canyon by himself. That's enough to help me take my revenge. Asmodeus, I must make you pay in blood for your sins. Deep in the western mountain canyon, there's a thick spider web. The 3 little guys were trapped in a web, unable to move. They were an 87 level rogue, an 87 level fire mage, and an 88 level warrior. These guys were Grid's high school classmates. Back in school, they were also the bullies. But they overestimated themselves and formed a team to challenge a level 180 dungeon. The strength of the spider silk is not something they can break at their level. Now, they can only wait silently for death. At that moment, a figure gradually appeared at the entrance. It was Grid, who had just dealt with the canyon spider. After so much effort to kill the monster, he ended up dropping a bunch of low-level materials. What bad luck. While Grid was talking to himself, the 3 little ones also noticed him. If he's a high-level player, then we should call for help. Maybe he will kindly come to our rescue. Hearing the shout, Grid Tyson walked over. When he saw the 3 of them clearly, Grid immediately stopped in his tracks. He immediately turned and ran away, not daring to say a word. How did that group of guys end up here? Last year at the class reunion, they publicly mocked Grid for playing games with online loans. Without any friends, Grid naturally didn't dare to fight back. After all, these guys are notorious delinquents. Now they've encountered him in the game. Who knows, they might end up taking their own stuff. While running, Grid suddenly realized something was off. Damn it, this is a game. Besides, he was already very strong now. Even the canyon spiders are no match for him. What can the spider's food do to me? Just as the 3 were discussing whether to bear the death penalty and quit the game, that mysterious person actually returned again. Do you need my help? Looking at Grid's eerie expression, Gaga couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. They wouldn't be encountering a pervert, would they? Grid pretended not to recognize and tugged at the spider web. This thing here has left you all helpless, huh? In front of a +8 enhanced dagger, the iron-like spider silk broke instantly, just like tofu. Seeing the scene, the little ones were even more astonished. Only weapons with a +8 can emit this kind of glow. Could he be a leaderboard player? A master? Please help us. Gridley smiled slightly. No problem, but you all have to put up everything you own. Otherwise, don't expect me to take action. Damn, you really wanted to take advantage of the chaos. Are you crazy? Without waiting for Zyagaga to finish speaking, a fist came crashing down hard. One hit took away 2/3 of Zyagaga's health. Wanting to be saved but unwilling to pay the price. Do you really think I'm easy to talk to? This punch made every pore of Grid tremble. It feels so damn good. Gada, who got punched, was so angry he almost bit his back teeth off. Are you looking for your mom in the game? If you have the guts, give me your address. I'll come support you in real life. Grid looked at the angry Gada in speechlessness. I'm from the Majyatan area. What can you do to me? If you have the skills, come find me through the wire. Now it's your turn. The sound echoes endlessly in the spider hole. The 2 little guys can't make a sound anymore. If you want to help, help. If you don't want to help, just leave. Why are you torturing them? The one speaking is the kindest of the trio. In high school, he once apologized to Grid alone. But how good can someone be? If they associate with these 2 scumbags, I'm not a demon either. Now I'm giving you a chance. Call me Daddy twice, and I'll help you escape. Pretty good deal, right? But little Gaga is quite tough. If you've got the guts, just kill us. And you expect us to beg for mercy? You're dreaming, damn it. Now it's Grid's turn to feel awkward. If you forcibly kill players, you might end up in prison. Even your reputation will decrease. Grid turned and walked away. Since you don't agree, then you can fend for yourselves. You've bullied me for so long, and you still want me to let you go? Don't kid around with me. Waited until Grid left. A few little ones completely lost hope. Right now, it seems there's no other way. We can only exit forcefully. After a moment, left Grid and returned to the spider den. This time, he brought a big treasure. I want to die easily. I really want to avoid this. But at this moment, the figures of the three people have long vanished from the spider web. Kujia Jelite was completely stunned. They actually chose to quit the game. Does that mean I just blocked a spider to torture myself? The magnificent waterfall, soaring 1,300 meters, cascades down. This is the most spectacular sight in the Shishan Gorge. Located deep within the Shishan Gorge, the Lauren waterfall. Grid was stunned by the scene before him, his mouth agape. But where is Pagma's sword dance? According to the mission details, the painting should be nearby. But here, there's nothing but water and stone. Where could anything else be? Suddenly, Grid noticed a cave behind the waterfall. Are the images really in the cave? Speaking of which, the ancestors of Khan were not straightforward either. Wouldn't it have been better to just give me the map? Why did it have to be so convoluted? Deep inside the cave, what unfolded before Grid was countless swashya. This is the sword dance of Pagma. But the stones were already covered in moss. I can't see anything at all. But the art style is quite nice. Grid is constantly searching. He has been waiting for the system's prompt. But up until now, there has been no response. Am I supposed to learn Pagma's sword dance from the pictures? But there is a detailed manual. How could I possibly fail? 3 hours later, Grid vented his anger in the cave. Damn it, why hasn't the prompt been completed? As Grid wiped his sweat, he suddenly noticed there was a painting hidden under his feet. At that moment, you have mastered Pagma's sword dance. Job change quest completed. It turns out all he had to do was view the entire picture. Pagma's sword dance aircraft form. In this state, attack power increases by 20%. Critical hit chance increases by 10%. Upon skill activation, 5 sword dance techniques can be obtained. It can deal 155% physical attack damage to all enemies within a 1 meter radius, with a slowing effect. This prevents enemies from approaching the user for 3 seconds. It can deal 500% physical damage to a single target. Seiko deals 1500% physical attack damage to a single target. It also inflicts bleeding and despair effects. The attack power is doubled. Basic normal attack switch to ranged attacks. This is just too awesome. One skill is worth 5. But seeing the mana consumption, Grid fell into despair again. To use the intelligence killing ability, you have to reach 400. Let me, as a blacksmith, increase my intelligence. This is just ridiculous. Pagma's sword dance comes with a passive skill, plus 5 active skills. It has both offense and defense. This is simply a divine weapon for killing and looting. Grid quickly headed back to town to complete the mission. He is anxious to go back and make money. Suddenly, 4 level 175 mermaid monsters jumped out of the river beside him. The closer this group gets to the water, the stronger they become. A slight smile appeared at the corner of Grid's mouth. He quickly put on his mask. It's just right to test the power of his sword dance on them. He raised his short blade high. Grid unconsciously assumed the starting stance of the sword dance. In the next moment, the blade danced into action. An invisible aura enveloped Grid. It made it impossible for the 4 mermaids to get close. Taking this opportunity, Grid quickly pulled out a blue recovery potion. Just one strike had consumed half of his mana. He had to hurry to recover. Grid switched back to aircraft mode. The winds of justice are unleashed. A fierce sword light shoots out. It directly hits the merfolk. In an instant, a merfolk monster is taken down. Immediately after, Grid roars and charges into the merfolk. He moves quickly. But before he can launch an attack, the back was struck by a mermaid's spear. Grid, having lost 1/3 of his blood, chose not to use a health potion. The most important thing right now is to fill the blue gauge. The short blade is raised again. Grid assumes a strange posture. Pagma's sword dance unleashes a shockwave. Like a whirlpool, it bursts out from Grid's body in a circular manner. With 155% physical attack power, 3 mermaids died instantly. You have leveled up and gained 10 attribute points. Having experienced the power of sword dance, Grid decisively allocated the attribute points to intelligence. As a legendary blacksmith, attribute points are the least of his worries. It won't be long before he can use the full set of sword dance. Your strength is impressive. A stranger appeared in front of Grid. When he took a closer look, he realized it was an NPC named Pialo. No need to be nervous. I just wanted to ask you for a favor. Upon hearing this, Grid was momentarily stunned. Did I trigger a hidden plot here? But before they could continue their conversation, a dense sound of splashing water came from behind. Look at this number. There must be at least a dozen. Grid made a quick decision. He pointed at Piero and shouted, "It's this guy. He killed your kind." Upon hearing this, Piero's face instantly darkened. The longsword was unsheathed. The sword's edge danced. With just one strike, all the fish were taken care of. I recognize your strength. But your shamelessness makes me feel disgusted. However, since we are fated to meet, whether you help me or not is your own choice. Once the NPC finishes speaking, an S-level mission prompt pops up. Execute the true traitors of the Scarlet Order. Completion condition, eliminate Asmofi. Upon completion, you will receive the title of Vengeance Agent, and unlock the Cruel attribute. The Night Order is the strongest Night Order on the entire continent. Asmofi is their vice captain. The title reward is indeed quite enticing. But Grid is too busy making money. He simply doesn't have time to complete the tasks. I refuse. Seeing Grid so decisive, Pialo swings down, and raises the longsword in his hand. Level 1. Attack power, 387. Skill enhancement acquired. The longsword lightly touched Grid. This strike took 7,500 HP from Grid. Justice effect triggered. All stats increased by 30%. Grid was utterly shocked. Just a little touch. I almost shattered. I'll give you 2 options. Complete the mission, and I'll throw in the longsword for you. Or I'll kill you right now. Grid fell into silence for a moment. Mission failed. Dropped 4 levels and died. Only dropped 2 levels. I choose to return to the city quickly. I've never seen such a solitary player. It's my first time seeing someone like you. You can go. I won't attack innocent players. If you figure things out later, you can come back to find me. Return to the blacksmith shop. Grid excitedly looked at the quest reward. Eugene's sword. Level 1. Attack power, 451 to 635. Comes with a golden glow skill. Even top-ranked players might not have a better sword than this one. Since the job transfer task has been completed, what should I do next? Who would have thought that Khan would only let Grid rest for a while, without providing a follow-up task? Could it be that I haven't met the conditions to trigger a task? Just as Grid was deep in thought, Winston's soldiers came to invite him. Ever since the 8th Departed appeared, Winston is suffering defeat after defeat in the war against the Adnian cult. That group of cultists has begun a counter-invasion. Due to the 20% experience bonus event, countless players have joined the Adnian cult faction. This task commissioned by the administrator is an AA level mission. The completion condition is to craft an epic holy shield within 2 days. The rewards will vary based on the equipment level. The rewards will also differ. If we fail, the transaction will be terminated. The chain quest will also disappear. The shield has received the protection of the goddess of light. It has additional defensive power against dark magic and the worshippers of Aten. In addition, the light-based enchantments bestowed by the goddess's servants make this shield a powerful weapon against the Aten cult. Flames fill the furnace. Grid carefully poured the secret sound into the mold. To buy equipment materials, Grid spent all of the remaining 17,000 gold coins. But that was only enough to forge 2 shields. The dog operator must give some face. Looking at Grid busy forging on the screen, the game operator was also confused. Even the hidden quests had to be declined. It's just to quickly craft the equipment. What exactly is this guy up to? Isn't playing games meant to get stronger? But some players can get addicted to farming. Having a hobby for crafting equipment is understandable. 2 days later, Grid actually put in 40 hours. He only logged off once in between. Next, he should apply the light-type blessing. As Xiao Gaga unleashed the light magic, the sleepy Grid also slowly opened his eyes. Is it finally over? But looking at the rare grade shield in his hand, Grid almost cursed. You little brat, are you sent by the operation team to mess with my mind? You got the wrong one. This is the real deal. The legendary, flawless holy shield has the skills of divine light and God's protection. It also has a very high chance of completely resisting dark magic. It's finally done. This is the second legendary equipment I forged. Grid excitedly handed the shield to the administrator, eagerly waiting for the task completion notification. Thank you for your hard work. You can go back and rest now. Now it's Gridman's turn. Forget about the triple reward, I won't even get that. Can they really withhold task rewards too? Have NPCs learned the art of freeloading as well? That's in order. Soldiers, seize Gridman. Just as Gridman was about to call the mayor's hotline at 12,345, the nun from the Holy Church clasped her hands together. The light of evolution was activated. A blinding light enveloped the entire room. Under the illumination of the light, the administrator seemed to lose his soul. He fell to the ground. I found it strange from the very beginning. Only the paladins of the Rebecca Church can use the holy shield. But you only invited me, the sacrificial offering, and didn't invite the paladin who can use the equipment. And you even expect to get it for free. Master Blacksmith, it's you, this cultist, who is scheming behind my back, isn't it? No sooner had the words been spoken than an old man cloaked in darkness appeared in the room, seemingly out of nowhere. He could uncover my plans from the smallest clues. You really are quite impressive. But a little priest like you can't stop me at all. Upon hearing this, little Gagasi showed no sign of panic. The next second, the blacksmith's door burst open. A woman dressed in magnificent robes walked in. Of course, she couldn't stop me. But what about with my help? The person is named Isabel. She is an NPC that Grid has never seen before. Heretics, surrender. As she spoke, Isabel took out her weapon. Raphael's spear appeared in her hand. As the daughter of the goddess Rebecca, Isabel's strength is unquestionable. Seeing the scene, little Gaga lost the will to fight. He hugged the shield and ran outside. He thought he could escape from me. You're not worthy enough. In the blink of an eye, the room was empty. Only Grid was left, looking confused. This plot is so damn exciting. But what about my gold coins? Half an hour later, Grid was completely anxious, still not having received the task reminder. Damn, turns out they were colluding to pull a scam on me. In a small town in the southern part of the kingdom of Etna. This is the territory of one of the strongest guilds, the Giant Guild. The equipment made by Grid finally caught the attention of the guild leader, Chris. As the third-ranked powerhouse in the overall leaderboard, he understands the importance of high-level equipment in this game. He must find Winston's blacksmith. Confirm that he joins our guild. Looking at the 2 tasks on the guild panel, Little Dada from the Justice League is searching for suspicious targets on the streets of Winston City. At that moment, Grid, who had just experienced a heart-stopping moment, walked over with a frustrated look. Regis had met Grid in White Orchid Village. Through conversation, Grid determined that this kid is a warm-hearted person. Why not ask him to get the shield back? After all, who can refuse a poor blacksmith? Seeing Grid successfully stoking the fire, Chairman Jaskar suddenly interrupted the spell. You hurry up and complete the task for me. We don't have time to help a kid recover from a mistake. Now Grid is furious. Is being the president really that impressive? He's not your slave. Why should he listen to you? The argument between the 2 attracted countless players watching the drama unfold. In order to maintain the image of the Justice League, Uncle G had no choice but to compromise. Go quickly and come back fast. Otherwise, I won't let you off easily. Just after the 2 left, someone nearby recognized Grid's identity. Isn't that Khan's apprentice? He represented Khan in the blacksmith duel before. Hearing the conversation, Uncle G instantly understood. This kid might know Aaron's whereabouts. He quickly sent a message to Regis. Who would have thought that Zyagaga would refuse all messages? How dare he ignore me? When I get back, I won't even have foot-soaking water to drink. Why does a dark cult want to fight over equipment that restricts themselves? Because by casting dark magic on this sacred shield, and pairing it with the sacrifice of a pure maiden, they will gain unexpected benefits. And Lord Aaron is the best material for the sacrifice. The next day, Regis and Grid were panting heavily, as they climbed to the top of the mountain to chase down the person stealing their gear. If he's a follower of Aten, then he has most likely returned to their base. This is the nearest stronghold to the Aten temple. As Grid was considering a strategy, and looking at the dozen or so guards, Regis suddenly rushed forward. With the sound of bangs echoing, it was just a brief moment. Regis had already dealt with all the little gag gas, but as soon as they entered the cave, the two received a system warning. The sixth deceased has appeared. Due to the influence of powerful dark magic, you will be affected by negative effects such as fear and debilitation. The next moment, a dark whip struck from the depths of the cave. Grid instantly bent down to avoid it. Negative effects have no impact on legendary classes. But Regis was in trouble. His abdomen was pierced by the ice. He didn't even have time to react. Seeing Grid unaffected, Regis couldn't help but feel admiration. In this game, you cannot directly see the player's level. Grid has clearly been mistaken for a testicle. At that moment, the sixth deceased revealed their true form. Ignorant invaders. I will send you to hell. Watch the approaching shadow. Sori directly drew out the +8 short sword. Does he really think he's invincible? Blade activated. The shadow was easily sliced into pieces. Seeing the attack blocked by Beige, Regis was drinking a health potion while requesting support. But just as he opened the message, Jishuka's furious voice came through. Your Excellency, now is not the time to discuss this. The sixth deceased has appeared near Winston. With the two of us, we can't handle it at all. But before Regis could continue, Catch interrupted him forcefully. Forget about the sixth deceased. The person with you is Khan's apprentice. Through him, you can find the woman named Mina. Move quickly. The blacksmith's fury. Grid takes the initiative. At the moment just before reaching the sixth reaper, a massive sword appeared in his hand. It was the Hegni sword, already enhanced to level 5. Pagma's sword dance is unleashed. With the immense attack power of the level 250 giant sword, and a 500% physical attack damage from the combo, this strike will be the strongest sword ever wielded by Grid. In an instant, the earth shakes and mountains tremble. A deafening explosion reverberates throughout the cave. When everything calms down, the sixth saint remains completely unharmed. There's something wrong with that guy's cloak. Could it be high attribute equipment? Before Grid could continue to think, the sixth wielder had already launched a counterattack. The divine threshold is activated. At such a close distance, Grid had no way to dodge. He was hit squarely on the face. Even the helmet was shattered. Damn Pagma's arrow fire. A ring suddenly appeared beneath him. Within the domain, the sixth apostle was forcefully pushed away. He couldn't even get within 3 meters of Grid. Taking this chance, Grid quickly ran towards the exit. At that moment, Regis seemed to have discovered something. He smiled and stopped moving. Suddenly, a sword with a glowing letter surged in from outside the cave. It struck the sixth deceased directly. If you don't want to be accidentally harmed, hurry and get out of the way. The newcomer officially draws the bow and arrow. This mess was caused by you, kid. I'll settle the score with you later. And you, don't rush. Shuka turned to Grid. Just stay here. Don't even think about running away. But seeing the Yafasi in Jishuka's hand, Grid couldn't help but blurt out. So it turns out the epic ring I created made you buy it. Upon hearing this, the sixth one was instantly disregarded. Jishuka stared at Grid with fiery eyes. I finally found you. In front of our Justice League. This guy is just a little prey now. This man is ruthless. They actually sacrificed 607 young girls, just to slaughter the entire city. He is the core figure of the Asia-Pacific cult. The sixth deceased, Mara, next to Marisis. But in front of the entire Justice League, little Gagaga is clearly insufficient. Before Jishuka's insight shoots out, Marisis initiated the attack first. The tentacles quickly approached. In the next second, the patient's shield activated. The top-ranked Taban in Bungie City stood in front of Jishuka. Taking this opportunity, Jishuka successfully finished. The radiant swordsman suddenly shot out. However, Taban, with the strongest shield, was not at ease. Listening to the sharp cracking sound coming from his hand, is it really that exhausting to block a basic attack? Clearly, this battle isn't as simple as the guild leader said. Just as Zyagaga used his cloak to block the swordsman, Raygas took the chance to sneak behind him. His fist instantly gathered energy. The penetrating punch was unleashed, not giving Zyagaga any chance to react. With a loud crash, little Gaga's body flew backward. The blow made his eyes go white. He fell to the ground, motionless. I didn't expect it to be resolved so easily, but everyone here is a pro. Taking out the weakest of all the deceased in one blow is quite normal. The berserker charged forward with dual axes. He plans to deliver the final blow to Zyagaga. At that moment, a dark shadow suddenly approached. Caught off guard, Regis was hit by several tendrils. It gave him a full-body massage. Don't be too arrogant. I am not someone that you foolish humans can compare to. While speaking, Maliseth increased his magical output. The overwhelming magic covered the entire cave. Everyone was affected by the immobilization effect. In the next second, a massive shadow swept in. Such a wide-range attack caught all the members of the Justice League completely off guard. You have taken 8,900 damage. You have taken 11,000 damage. Enduring such a powerful attack, player of the Rao family at level 200 also lost over 40% of health. Everyone is in a 3-second stun state. As a veteran devourer, Malarathis is clearly underestimated by the world. He now has the home field advantage. The Justice League is about to be wiped out. Quick, use a health potion. Everyone can die. But we must ensure the blacksmith's survival. I don't know where this kid has respawned. We can't let him go down. But at this moment, Grid was completely unaffected, looking at everything with a helpless expression. It's too strange. Why is he the only one unscathed? Could it be that this kid is lying? He is not a blacksmith. Clearly, Maliseth also noticed. Grid has resisted negative effects twice in a row. Who exactly is this guy? 3 seconds have passed. Shuka is replenishing health, while organizing the team to counterattack. Vantner's twin axes strike out, hacking viciously at the cloak. But under the cloak's high defense, Physical attacks have no effect. Since that's the case, let's see if you can withstand this move. Berserker's Rage enhances Bantner's insane attack speed. Malthus had no chance to counterattack at all. Just then, his teammates arrived to support. The spear charged straight for the core. It almost broke through the cloak's defense. With the cooperation of Zhao Xian and Olaf, Malthus was once again put in a passive position. He was about to give up 300 gold. But Zyagata was not willing to give in. As the high priest of the Eden sect, how could he possibly submit so easily? A tremendous force surged from Seth's body, interrupting Zhao Xian's offensive rhythm. Stop resisting. You have no hope. Suddenly, tentacles shot out. Zhao Xian grinned. He suddenly seized the spear. With immense strength, he shattered the tentacle in an instant. But that's not all. Like a dragon, the thrust pierced through layers of defense. It struck directly at the core of the little Gaga. How is that possible? I am one of the 8 great emissaries. But before little Gaga could snap out of her surprise, the berserker threw an axe. The axe's armor penetration is clearly not as good as a spear's. It only cut through one layer of the cloak before being deflected away. As a berserker, don't pursue too high an attack. Dealing damage is your best outcome. Bennett took a reluctant bite. In this game, there's no way to reset attributes through purchases. Many high-level items are also difficult to buy with real money. Otherwise, I just pile up cash to crush you. Hearing this, Zhao Xian looked down at the spear in his hand. Although it was of the highest rank, its level was only 190. This was something that Xiao Gaga found after searching for a long time at the auction house. No wonder the president cares so much about it. That mysterious blacksmith forced the two back. Xiao Gaga raised Regis once again. Since you dare to look down on me like this is the price you will pay. In the hurry to help Grid find equipment, the recovery potions Regis carried were long gone. Now he has no ability to resist at all. In the next moment, a chilling dark magic surged into Regis's head. Seeing this scene, Kishuka found himself in a dilemma. If he forced a rescue, he might return the advantage they had gained. But if he didn't rescue him, the loss of a high-level player would result in a significant loss of experience. Regis might take a week to make up for it. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. You can't even save your own companion. What kind of Justice League is that? Grid directly swung his short sword. He charged forward alone. Let go of me, damn it. Pagma's sword dance activated. An overwhelming force looms closer. Get out of here, 3 meters away. Time seems to freeze at this moment. All the testicles are stunned in place. A violent sense of pressure attacks the high priest. Why does such powerful strength erupt from this little guy? In the realm of the sword dance, it's repelled. The high priest involuntarily put down Regis. Although you're not a top player, I increasingly find it hard to understand you. Consider this a favor I owe you. Upon hearing this, Grid couldn't help but reveal a sly expression. So, he's really been caught, huh? They said 3 seconds have passed. Facing the approaching Malaseth, how will they escape? Suddenly, a flame erupted in front of Grid. The one who struck is the second-ranked composite sorceress. You all run. This woman is not only a high-level player, but also a world-class singer who has already been exposed. Grid instantly worshipped her. They even forgot to run away. The explosion sounded again. Jishuka shouted angrily, do you not want to live? Get away from there. Xiao Gaga stubbornly fought against the swordsman. He summoned 3 rib spikes. He fiercely swung them at Grid. How dare you save someone in my hands? Are you really so confused you can't tell north from south? Pretending to be tough isn't scary. What's scary is when you can't run away after pretending. 3 beams shot out explosively. Just when Grid thought he had escaped, he was lifted by a man. What the beams hit was just an afterimage. The one who struck was Fick, ranked first among assassins. Before Grid could say thank you, Fick had already dashed out. Shadow clones and shurikens. Unfortunately, he doesn't have physical penetration abilities. These attacks can't break through Malashi's defenses at all. Until this moment, everyone sensed something unusual. This little guy seems to be selectively blocking damage. Is he conserving magic? If that's the case, his next move will be, without waiting for Fike to finish speaking. Sure enough, Zyagata begins to unleash his ultimate move. Respectable Lord of Hell, please grant me power. The magic I hold once again sweeps through the entire cave. This time the dark energy grows stronger as the night slowly descends. It seems like something has broken free from its restraints. In the next moment, 3 ferocious dog heads emerge from the darkness. The Cerberus. Get rid of them for me. The Hellhounds, upon receiving the command, instantly appeared before everyone. They are just summoned creatures. Let's do our part. Before Uncle G can speak up to stop us, the little members of the Justice League have already charged forward. The 3 heads of the Hound begin to converge at this moment. Elemental magic of fire, poison, and 3 attributes rapidly strikes. There's no time for rescue now. Jishuka gritted his teeth and looked back. Although there are still questions about this blacksmith's identity, but he absolutely cannot die. 3 swordsmen also flew out. They shot towards the elemental orb. This guy is up to me to handle. You all go take down Marathus. The berserker took the lead. The battle axe struck fiercely on the dog's head, but this hit had no effect at all. 3 heads aim at the berserker. Ice, fire, and poison sweep over once more. The berserker has no choice but to block with his axe. But after coming into contact with the toxic liquid, he begins to slowly dissolve. At the critical moment, Zhao Xian comes to the rescue. Do not act rashly. This thing is not simple. Upon hearing this, the berserker quickly activated the Guardian's divine power. This skill can nullify one attack from the opponent. Then he quickly ran off into the distance.